Let's call this meeting to order. If we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's get a roll call of the members present, please. I'm here. 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 As you all may remember, Councilwoman Conover is out of town this week, which is why she's not here. Okay, so we've got a long agenda. I've had a couple of requests because of other conflicting schedules to jump around just a shade. Let's start with the prosecutor. While you're sitting down, do the first reading.
We meet in the Porter County Government Administration located on 55 Indiana Avenue, Belgrade, Indiana, on February 23rd, 2016 at 5 p.m. to consider the following additional appropriations with respect to the county budget for the year 2016 and to transact any further business which may come to the Porter County. Stormwater size. Fund 1182, 1110 salaries, $327,000. 1210 FICA, $25,055. 1220 medical life insurance, $86,900. 1230 PERS, $36,680. 1340 board, $10,000. 2110 office supplies, $10,000. 2210 gas, fuel, and booze, $30,000. 2310 hired chief, etc., $3,000. 2330 auto truck equipment, $16,000. 2361 culverts, pipes, $100,000. 3120 legal, $25,000. 3130 training and ed for 1,033, time travel, $100,000. 3220 telephone, $6,000. 3310 training and other office supply, $5,000. 3320 legal notices, $2,000. 3610 maintenance agreement, $50,000. 3650 vehicle repair, $5,000. 3710 equipment, $2,000. 3930 business subscriptions, $2,000. 3950 contractual, $1,700,000. 3950 contractual attorney, $25,000. 4610 building, $300,000. 4410 office equipment over $110,000. 4420 motor vehicles, $100,000. 40 furniture fixtures over $175,000. 35 data processing equipment, $57,000. 4540 other equipment, $75,000.
Page again.
$3,384,135. Plan Commission Fund, Fund 1180, 1110 salaries, a reduction of $13,500. 1210 $5,000. 1,262. 1230 PERS, reduction of $1,848. 1340 board, reduction of $8,000. Special project annual shelter, 111220. 9231 red services, 2,500. Special to the referral fund, 2,500, 2501, 1120 salaries, $3,000. OWI Shakel Drug Fund, 9114. 3950 compared to 11,416. Staff grant fund, 8113, 1110 salary, $2,178. Substitute of free trial fund, 2,500, 2503, 1110 salary, reduction of $2,178. 1210 FICA, 1874. 1230 PERS, $2,744. VOCA grant fund, 8112, 1110 salary, $28,000. General fund, 1,010.05, 1130 overtime, $15,537. Highway Sheriff Fund, 4,000, 1,000, 3630, equipment other than vehicles, $14,000. 4420 motor vehicles, $20,000. County user fee fund, 2,500, 2506, 1350. Department 78, jury, $60,000. General 40, incentive fund, 8895, 4440, demonstrative pictures over $140,000. Homeland Security Grant Fund, 8146, 3120, consultants, $20,000. 3130 training and ed, $80,000. 3630 equipment other than vehicles, $40,000. Forest Operating Fund, Fund 1179, 2250, other supplies, $19,000. 3120 consultants, 4,000, 3620 building maintenance and repair, 5,000, 3980 event expenses, 4,000. Park grant funds, 9102, 3950 contractual, 2,752. Park grant funds, Pitt Prairie grant, 8153, 3950 contractual services, 13,942 and 24 cents. Park Center Health Farm Education Center, fund 4919, 3980 of expenses, 9,817 cents. And hospital interest funds on 4902, 3950 contractual, $317 and $197. Taxpayers appearing at such meetings shall have a right to be heard thereon. The additional appropriations as finally made will be referred to Indiana Department of Local Government Finance. The DLGF will make a written determination as to the sufficiency of funds to support the appropriations made within 15 days of the receipt of a certified copy of the action taken with your dad's auditor report published February 12, 2016 in the Chesterton Tribune.
Thank you very much. Prosecutor, local grant, OWI testing, is an additional $11,416.29 to $39.50 contractual services. Reason prior year granted a balance of $165.91, and the grant was increased by $11,250.38. This fund cannot be rounded off. It needs to be exact. What's your pleasure?
Motion approved.
So a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Day?
Yes.
Councilmember Graham?
Yes.
Councilmember Jeffrey?
Yes.
Councilmember Papera?
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas?
Yes.
And Councilmember Whitten.
Yes, stop grant. Additional $2178 to 1110 salaries. Grant salary is increased to $31,110 effective 7/1/15. Grant period 7/1/15 to 6/30/16. 28 is accompanied with a Form 144, $28,932 to $31,110. Domestic violence prosecutor. I assume those are the same issue, correct, Brian?
It's the same issue with the grant.
Is the grant increase additional money for the domestic violence prosecutor, is that correct? What's your pleasure with this?
Motion.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion?
Yeah, is this from last year? I'm a little confused.
We didn't get the approval till the beginning of this year.
So you asked with a rate approval, apparently. So you did a grant, it got approved for an increase, and you got notice beginning of this year, correct? So although it's retroactive, they just got their approval and it's grant money.
We haven't spent it yet because we don't have
Right.
the authorization.
Any other questions?
Did he get $1,000, did this person get a $1,000 raise last fall?
Not to this grant employee.
This is a new, to summarize, money came in that we utilized both for a small increase and to fund a new grant position. And we had to request approval. The original grant was not for an additional position. Basically, more money came in than we really planned on. I mean, we asked for it, but instead of using it all for salaries, because that wouldn't work, there was a small salary increase in an additional position that is funded solely from the grant. But we had to modify the grant to get approval to do it that way. It took a long time to get the approval. Now we have the approval. Now you guys got to approve it. Does that make sense?
Did we do this what about our salary ordinance? Does that have to be adjusted, or are we giving somebody a raise that already had?
Yeah, I mean, I see where you're going with this, and I think that, and I may have that question on, further down on the requests, without question, but on this one, I guess, so this domestic violence prosecutor that's being paid out of this grant,
Hold on, yeah, I think I may have misspoke. I think I may have been talking about the VOCA grant. Go ahead and tell them what actually is going on.
The VOCA grant employees, the 3 VOCA grants got the $1,000. The stop grant, I do not believe that she got the $1,000 raise.
why would she not have gotten it?
It's grant money. It would come out of a different funding.
Is that correct, Madam Auditor? One at a time. Would the person being paid out of a grant have not gotten a $1,000 increase to her salary ordinance increase?
I can't recall on this particular one, I do recall talking with Cheryl about this, because if the grant wasn't enough to cover it, the person didn't get the increase.
And if we didn't grant this increase, would it just be turning away grant money?
Correct.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
And again, I may have questions about your further request, but this one seems pretty...
Is this a full-time position?
It is.
So, I guess rhetorically, based on what Dan said, if we don't grant this raise, do you lose that $3,000?
Correct, they will, yeah.
Yeah.
They'll go probably back to the 28,932.
I mean, honestly, it's grant money.
And one of the dilemmas with, and I'm not telling you guys things you don't already know, but grants, they typically, when the county grants pay raises, a lot of time the grant people lag.
Right.
And then sometimes they're able to get more money out of the grants, and then we try to catch them back up.
Right.
Was this the increase you got in the grant?
Correct.
Well, I guess I'm gonna be rhetorical. If you got $5,000 more, would you put this person in for a $5,000 raise?
Correct. It has to be used for salary.
But we, as a rule, don't ask, we're not asking for money far and above what...
Yeah, not only this, and honestly, listen, we all have talked about how our county employees would like to be able to get them additional monies, and if through some grant, the department heads can find additional salaries from grants, that's great. I mean, it kills two birds with one stone.
And I can tell you, go ahead.
In this particular person's salary, you will notice that there's a reduction in the back because we pay part of that salary from another fund. So her salary is the same. In this particular employee, the salary is going to stay the same. We go back to...
So the domestic violence prosecutor, their total salary is $31,000?
It's not that. It's
Now we're getting off a little bit.
plus the other, if you go down, you'll see there's 2178 reduction out of another fund.
Right, yeah, I saw that.
We even sent this one out.
All right, so you're taking money from one grant and reducing it from the other, and the salary's staying the same?
From our discretionary funds, how we pay that salary. A portion of it is grant, a portion is discretionary funds.
Okay, that's a little bit of a different approach. So this isn't a raise?
This one's not a raise, this is the same one.
This is the same.
Yes.
All right,
You got me confused when you said the bulk of people.
One second.
okay. Do we all understand that?
Clear as mud.
Yeah. What's your, all right, we got a motion and a second, right? And does that include the 144, I assume?
Yes.
Yes. Let's get a roll call on this one.
Councilmember Graham?
Yes.
Councilmember Jessen?
Yes.
Councilmember Papera?
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas?
Yes.
Councilmember Witten?
Yes.
Councilmember Vitt?
Yes.
Zero.
Prosecutor deferral, additional $3,000 to salaries, increase in work responsibilities, 15-1 to 18-1, County Court Supervisor, Form 144. This is not grant money.
No, but this is deferral.
Understand.
Deferral money.
I understand. So what's your pleasure with this?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion?
Second.
And a second.
Did this person get the raise last fall?
Well, along with everyone else.
Yes, they did.
So they went from 14-1 to 15-1, and now we're gonna take them to 18-1.
Yes.
Any other questions?
Their workload changed that dramatically?
Yeah. Excellent.
Well, it does seem a little early in the year for an increase in work responsibilities raise, even though I understand that you're working on a deferral money on this, and I appreciate that. As a rule, I personally don't like to vote on increases outside of budget time, and certainly it's pretty early in the year.
And I don't dispute that. I guess I would say that one of the things that I hope the council understands is we are blessed with a very experienced office, people who know what they're doing, and I have to be mindful to do what I can, even if I have to eat it, such as this, out of discretionary funds, to make sure that I can do what I can to keep good people. That's sort of the bottom line.
We have a motion to second on the additional 144, let's get a roll call.
Well, Dan, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
was this something that was anticipated when we went to the budget session, the increase in work responsibilities? Are you shifting some different, where's the increase in responsibilities come from?
Well, I can tell you guys that we have a lot of serious cases that are coming to trial. We're in the middle of a month-long murder trial as we speak. And in looking into the future, we're going to have, we've got 7 pending homicide cases that are probably going to have to be tried. And so that is part and parcel. I know a lot of the departments put in a lot of hours, but I can tell you that prosecutors, when they have, these serious cases, they put in 80-hour weeks for weeks and months on end. And so that's just the nature of the beast. And, you know, I've acknowledged, and I think you folks have acknowledged, that my professional staff are woefully underpaid across the board. And so, you know, I'm trying to kind of make sure I shore up what I can when I can.
And the entirety of this salary is paid out of deferral. And you're pretty much of the understanding if the deferral runs dry,
Well, then we'll have to reevaluate. We're trying to see if we
Right.
can keep that from happening.
Surely she makes more than 18. Plus.
That's just supplementing with county pays.
Okay.
Let's get a roll call.
Councilmember Jensen?
yes.
Councilmember Paparad?
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas?
Yes.
Councilmember Witten?
Yes.
And Councilmember Biggs?
Yes.
And Councilmember Graham?
Yes.
6-0.
Prosecutor pretrial additional $1,874 to FICA stop grant employer salary increased, et cetera. What's your pleasure with this additional?
Motion to approve.
As a matter of fact, we'll probably do them all, if you don't mind.
They're all tied together.
Yeah, they're all tied together. $27.44 for 12/30 perf, stop grant employer salary increased. Reduction, $21.78 to salaries, grant salary was increased. Form 144, $19,068 to $16,890. And then we have the VOCA grant, $28,000 to $11,10 salaries, VOCA grant approved, new employee hire effective. 10/115 to 9/30/16, and then there's the Form 144 where there's a 0 to 28,000 victim advocate. Does the motion want to contain all those? Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
And a second. Discussion. We've kind of already been through this, so roll call, please.
Councilmember Paparad?
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas?
Yes.
Councilmember Witten?
Yes.
Councilmember Biggs?
Yes.
Councilmember Graham?
Yes.
Councilmember Jensen?
Yes.
6-0.
You guys look for Grunski, right?
Thank you so much.
Have a good evening. No problem, Ryan. We'll see you later, man.
And for your information, the staff grant person did not get a raise because the grant.
Thank you. Okay, and then, moving back on the agenda, I think the public defender, is Ken here? He had a conflict too. All right, so let's just go back to, Florida Superior Court due to one Judge Bradford. I spoke with him for a while today. He's asking for an additional $60,000, $1350 jury fund. This comes out of, non-general fund money. It's a court fee collected event, so we just have to approve the appropriation. We have a motion, is there a second? And a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Rivas?
Yes.
Councilmember Witten?
Yes.
Councilmember Biggs?
Yes.
Councilmember Graham?
Yes.
Councilmember Jensen?
Yes.
And Councilmember Paparad?
Yes.
6-0.
Thank you. Let's jump over commissioners, because we're going to come back to them with the presentation. Warren Opera House. $3,000 from 3170 director choreographer to 3950 to 3950. Wow, contractual services. Need to pay certain individuals from contractual services. That's a little bit cryptic. We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? I'll second it. Explain that a little bit, will you?
Well, presently, the funds that we have that are in our choreography and so forth are being utilized for our some of our contractual services, and we don't already have funds in there. So in order to keep our books in a better system or a better order for you to see exactly where our funds are going or payouts are going, moving those funds over from there, which we don't even meet now in that category presently, moving them over to a contractual fund will kind of be, it is what we're paying. We're paying out contractual.
What kind of contractual things?
I can answer that question.
Please.
A couple of examples of that would be...
And you're not paying like the guy playing the Wizard of Oz.
Oh, no.
That's my question. I want to make that clear.
I know that guy. I think he's doing a really great job. I haven't seen him down yet.
Okay, there's my vote. There's my vote. I do
That's a wonderful thing.
Watch out for the man behind the curtain.
And he's doing it.
All that's not gonna help you.
Some examples would be, we had a specific, usually it's situational mostly. We had a woman who is taking over the responsibility for our wedding coordinator, and she was just sort of stepping in to be a warm body while the event was taking place, and at the last minute, they asked her to do pretty much everything that needs to be done the day of the wedding. Where are people going to stand, where are people going to walk, that kind of thing, and it was not planned, it happened on the spur of the moment, so we decided to pay her a small fee so that she could feel compensated for all the extra work she had done. Another example is the young man who did all of our artwork for 2016, our 2016 season. He wasn't working on a particular production, one of our main stage productions. He created all of our graphics. So we don't, and that's a contractual situation. I can't claim that he's a director choreographer because he's not working on a show. He's working on all of this one particular special project, so that's another example. When we had Jim Gaffigan come to the Memorial Opera House for a fundraising event, that was a huge event for us. We needed a lot of manpower. And we had a lot of volunteers, and one particular volunteer went above and beyond for us, so afterwards we saw where we were with the bar, how much money we had made, and we decided to throw him a little bit of compensation as well, because he did do a lot of physical work, running up and down stairs, carrying very heavy objects, that kind of stuff.
Okay, I kind of get it. Anybody else have any questions about this?
Moving this money over, you feel it's not going to leave you short in your other contractual obligations?
Do we feel it's gonna leave us
Yes.
short? No, we do not.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion, I'll second.
I'll second.
All right, no, good.
Sorry, Vincent.
Any further discussion on this? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Transfer's approved, thank you very much. Good evening.
We do the commissioners, or?
We are when you come back to them.
Oh, okay.
They're gonna stay for the other stuff anyway.
Oh, okay.
All right, EMA, come on up here. I'm just trying to cover all the folks that called with conflicts. Homeland Security grant for an additional $20,000 at 3120 Consultants, Inc., autopsy, $80,000 at 3130 Training and Ed, $40,000 at 3630 Equipment of the Vehicles, possible assistance with 2016 full-scale exercise and ongoing federal grants that need to be reappropriated as of 1/1/16. This is all grant money?
Yes. Move to approve.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Britton?
Yes.
Councilmember Biggs?
Yes.
Councilmember Graham?
Yes.
Councilmember Jessen?
Yes.
Councilmember Paparad?
Yes.
Councilmember Reavis?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, there you go. Thank you. Excellent, have a good evening. Okay, I think we're done with the easy stuff, or most of it, so let's just get right on back to, well, the 4D child support, let's do that. We were buried on page 4, I didn't see it. Title IV Incentive Fund, additional $40,000 for furniture. Which pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
I'll second, all right, we have a second, good. Any discussion?
Yeah, just maybe a little explanation as to what the furniture it might be.
Sure, we are refurnishing the office desks, that kind of stuff, and our desks are going to be reused by criminal prosecutor's office as well as some other offices
So you're recycling.
for
No
recycling.
big screen TVs, fireplaces, nothing cool?
Massage chairs.
Boring stuff, all right, I got you. Any further questions? Does that answer your question, Mike? Sure does. Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Biggs?
Yes.
Councilmember Graham?
Yes.
Councilmember Jessen?
Yes.
Councilmember Paparad?
Yes.
Councilmember Reavis?
Yes.
And Councilmember Britton?
Yes. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, let's just go back, and now we'll just cut it by, now we'll go back, let's do the commissioners, let's just start rolling through this. I think I covered everybody with stuff. Okay, yes, see Special Project Animal Shelter, $2,500 to vet services, amount was approved in the 15 as part of TNR, trap, neuter, and return. Sounds like my last marriage. Money was encumbered, but purchase order later concealed, 15 invoices were paid out of different budgets. All right. Sometimes it just comes out.
You let him get involved in the play, let's create.
What's your pleasure?
Move to approve.
We have a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second, any discussion?
My notes, Dan, say that seems like a very proactive sort of program, which maybe your ex-wife should have done the same.
Yes, this was really big on the...
Very smart.
Really big on the return part, really big on the return.
I don't know, I knew that probably could be here, so.
Any other thoughts? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Graham?
Yes.
Councilmember Jeffries?
Yes.
Councilmember Papera?
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas?
Yes.
Councilmember Whitten?
Yes.
Councilmember Day?
Yes.
Zero.
See? Thank you very much. And let's talk airport. Good evening, guys, how are you? All right. Good. So why don't we just, start off with your presentation and where we're at and what you're asking for.
Thank you. When we were here at the budget hearings in the fall, I think we kind of gave you a preview, and it's really just the formalized request now to get us there. We've given you a packet. If you maybe pull out the second to last foldout, that kind of gives you an overview of what we're doing. It's a complete rebuild of the main east-west runway, 7,000-foot by 150-foot wide runway and the parallel taxiway. And it's a more expensive project than just an overlay because we're taking a lot more of it up. It's crumbled, it hasn't lasted over the years. It's been rebuilt a few times since it was first built in 1965. So we did extensive forensics, determined it needed to be substantially rebuilt, and it's being done over a 3-year period. 90% of the funding is from the FAA, as are most of our projects out there. 5% is from the state, 5% local. Of that 5%, if you recall, the RDA has pledged half of that, subject to the county coming up with the other half of that. So that's the nature of our request. The $317,000 $197 represents half of that bottom right number. That 632 is maybe a few dollars off, but essentially it's one half of the local share of what's about $11.3 million project. The blue portion is now under contract. That'll start this spring soon as the weather breaks and the asphalt plants are open. They'll start chopping up the red part. The first section that involved the intersection of both runways is done. We had to close the whole airport for 2 weeks to do that.
Wow.
And so now we're ready to start what's really the biggest, most expensive part of it. And
So if I'm not, and I'm probably a stupid question, but this doesn't expand the runway?
this is not an expansion, it's just maintaining what we have.
So it's something that's going to have to be done at some point anyway.
It has to be done. We spent a lot of time with the FAA and the state. Of course, they're supplying 95%, saying, does it need to be rebuilt? Can we overlay it? And everybody concluded that was not money well spent. It might have been a few $1 million less in the long run, but even the FAA admitted that this was not holding up and it was going to create a problem to our huge piece of county infrastructure here, so.
Okay.
Was this approved by the commissioners?
Not yet. Actually, myself and Mr. Shale from the Airport Board and Commissioner Good had a meeting, and just kind of talked through this a little bit, and I suggested that I bring it to the county council for your consideration and questions and comments, and then if it got through the county council favorably, then they would proceed to the commissioners. Although I did ask Commissioner Good to be here during the presentation, so we could ask him questions about maybe some of the concerns or thoughts that the commissioners might have on this, and we could discuss a little detailed about if we did want to proceed on this, where the funds could come from, because I think it's going to require just a little bit of discussion on that. I mean, it seems to me, I get it, we're on some money crunch here, but it also seems to me that there's an almost $11.5 million undoubtedly needed project on the airport that we're getting 90-some% paid for.
Right.
And that's something...
Half of our share is going to be coming also, to pay up, pony up the RDA to the other half.
Yes.
And I think that, just preliminarily, without, committing to anything in any shape, form, or fashion, we were discussing some of the possible, myself and Jeff were discussing some of the possible sources where this money can come from. And Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we would kind of settle upon maybe an easy, low-hanging fruit would be hospital interest, is that correct?
That was correct, Dan.
How much do we have in hospital interest right now?
$4,900,000.
How much of that is committed to the budget? How much do we budget against?
Two and a half.
Total budget was $2.4
Yeah.
million. And we've got a balance of $1.374.
Okay.
What's the board's opinion or the commissioner's opinion about major moves money instead?
I think that could be, I don't know the criteria under major moves, if that fits within the certain criteria, but I would think it's paving. I think that's another viable alternative as well.
Well, it's, if memory serves me right, this project has been waiting in the wings for years at needing to be done. It's not an expansion, it's tantamount to us rebuilding a road that is falling apart.
That was very clever, you said waiting in the wings.
Good, Jeff. I didn't even catch that.
Yeah, it's, kind of holds his breath when you get large aircraft landing.
It's not the Biden project, when you come in, when Vice President came in, yes, rubble on the...
My point is that you all have been talking about that for years, and you've brought it between both boards, periodically for years. As Dan touched on, 90% of it's funded from other resources, and it's kind of a no-brainer.
I think it's notable to mention that, we were awarded early last year $4.3 million to do one half the runway. We made our case to the FAA and the state on the condition of the runway, trying to get it improved in one construction season. We actually bid that project for the east end and did 3 additive bids at the west end to get whatever extra money the FAA had at the end of the year. There was $30 million of discretionary dollars throughout the nation, and our airport competed and received another $1.4 million of that $30 million.
And I think that our county, when it was contemplating on getting involved in the RDA, it was projects like this that we saw the benefit and eventually join the RDA. So,
Dan, did you see this?
I think it's a great idea.
Oh, yeah, I saw it at the time. The request that's on our agenda before us is specific hospital interest, additional 317,197. What's your pleasure?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion.
Second.
And a second. Further discussion?
I think pending the commissioner's approval.
Of course.
I would, if possible, to rather see it come out of major moves, and here's the reason why. The hospital interest, taking it out of there, we can use the hospital interest for a lot of different things. We cannot say that for major moves money. And I believe that major moves, this would qualify as a use for major moves. I think just spend down...
Yeah, but it's probably, I understand that. And I don't have a problem with that. However, it's probably in the end 6 and 1/2 dozen the other, because some of the stuff...
There's plenty of needs for major moves as well,
Yeah.
Well, if you're all happy with it, I'll roll with you. You're comfortable with it, I'll go with it.
Yeah, we did. Can we get a roll call, please?
I'm sorry,
You.
yes.
Councilmember Joseph?
Yes.
Councilmember Papera?
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas?
Yes.
Councilmember Whitten?
Yes.
And Councilmember Biggs?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Very much.
And Jeff, if you could get it on your agenda when you get a chance to.
Yeah, we'll put it on our March 15th agenda, Paul.
Sounds great, thanks, guys. Mr. Elwood, would you step up here for your public defender budget?
Law offices of Crane, Elwood, and McClure.
Not yet.
So great and powerful,
Public Defender General Fund 144, there's several things on here. $48,045 down to $43,849, deputy retroactive $215.16. $33,752 to $34,752, deputy effective 2/23/16. $28,272.50 to $31,468.50, deputy effective 2/23/16. Reason, savings $41.96, subtract payroll increase of $1,000, and $3196 equals net change zero.
Motion to approve.
Second.
So a motion and a second on the floor, any discussion? It's a bit of a reorg because you've had some vacancy and...
We've had a vacancy which we've now filled, and the person that left had more experience than the person that came in, and I divvied it up among some deputies that are working harder, or doing more work than others.
All right, sounds good. No more money, but just kind of a restructure. Motion and a second on the floor for this restructuring request. Any further discussion?
I love the fact that somebody came in at a lower salary. It bothers me that everybody else gets raises, because if you didn't have this vacancy and lowered the salary, they wouldn't have gotten raises, would they?
Well, what it equates to is
That's yes or no?
No, I think it's more than that.
No, I mean, I don't disagree with what he's doing, but the fact, somebody comes in at a lower salary, instead of that $5,000 coming back to the general fund, he divides it by the people that are already working there. Now, I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but if he didn't have this opportunity, they wouldn't have gotten raises. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but I think if he didn't have this opportunity, he wouldn't be restructuring, because I think that he wouldn't have had the vacancy created this, I think. Is that correct?
There are two positions. This is one that frankly are paid more than the others, and that's because it was set up under my predecessor. And until those people leave, I can't fix it. This is one opportunity to fix it. There's one other opportunity that I will come back to you to ask to do the same thing. That's the only reason this is happening, is because certain pay rates were set. And to be honest, it had to do with other than duties that they were doing. It had to do with them being in his law office. So that's not something that we want to do going forward. So that's the reason for the bids.
I wasn't going to make you say that.
I understand.
Do you understand that, Bob?
Well, I understand all of it, I just don't agree with it, that's all.
I'm guessing Bob's voting no.
No, I probably vote yes, but it's just every time we turn around, somebody has a little extra money, so instead of it coming back to the general fund or whatever, they give raises. We give raises in August.
No, I think you're right. You actually make a very valid point. And generally speaking, as you know, I've voted right along that philosophy. Because I'm with you. I don't like to see raises before budget time. But sometimes there are extenuating circumstances, and I veered off that a time or two.
My philosophy is let the managers manage their departments. If the money's there in the department, then manage it.
Any other questions or concerns? Let's have a roll call, please.
Councilmember Justin?
Yes.
Councilmember Papera?
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas?
Yes.
Councilmember Whitten?
Yes.
Councilmember Diggs?
Yes.
And Councilmember Graham?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Sheriff, General Fund.
Hey, buddy. That's not the sheriff.
That is not the sheriff.
Much better looking.
We have some requests here. Additional general fund request, $15,537.18 to overtime, special service overtime reimbursement fund, all kinds of acronyms. Then there's another overweight, I won't do it to you, Scott. Additional $14,036.30 equipment other than vehicles to cover the cost to purchase a speed alert 18 radar trailer. That sounds cool. And stat track traffic counter, not quite as cool. Then there's another additional $20,000 for motor vehicles, for future motor vehicle purchases. What's your pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Is the motion on the floor, is there a second?
All of them?
Yep.
Second. And a second. Discussion.
You got a second on that motion?
He did. Councilman Jessen seconded it. But that doesn't mean it'll pass.
I guess I'm questioning the $20,000 for the motor vehicle, where's it coming from?
That's just them trying to build the account up for hopefully future purchases of the vehicle.
How much is in that account now?
A little under 5,400, 54,000.
So the request is to,
This is for future.
Yeah, you gotta have reserve in there.
I'm not sure you do. I'm not saying that's the wrong approach, but I don't think you necessarily do. I mean, in theory, we could say to department heads, when you want to make a purchase, come ask us.
We could do that too.
That's the other side. Well, any other questions?
Is there a reason these weren't budgeted for in the...
Well, the money wasn't in there at the time when, this is a new fund from last year, the overweight, or even before maybe, and it just wasn't, that's why the line items were so low.
And this is a fee-generated fund, right? You're creating fees and fines for overweight.
So the 20,000 is coming out of the overweight fund? I thought I thought you had a budget composed for that, for salaries and all sorts of stuff.
What's in that fund? Yeah, what's,
137,000 or something that...
how much is coming into that? And
Okay, so there's about 53,000 available.
53,800, something like
53,800 was the
53,800.
cash balance, and currently we have appropriation for 15,000.
Well, why don't we do this, if you're okay with it? Why don't we, I think Councilman Wood makes a good point. When you need a vehicle, and we'll take this out of there, okay?
No problem.
Thanks.
That's fine. Now, the one I do need, because we've got it on order, the speed trap.
oh, yeah.
No, just the 20,000 for the vehicle.
That, I gotta, what did she say that they've had, what was their balance?
The cash balance right now is about 53,008.
Okay, but what would you say after that?
Appropriated,
The amount that's already appropriated, 16,170.
So they appropriated more than they have?
no,
61,000 or?
no, 16.
Oh, okay, I can't,
Sorry.
that's all right, that's okay, all right,
16,170 was appropriated.
okay.
So with a motion second on the floor, and it sounds like maybe we want to reconsider that a little bit. Would the motion second consider withdrawing and amending to just include the first two additionals?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second on the floor for the first two additional requests, excluding the third for the 20,000. Any discussion on that?
Just very quickly, the HIDA, the OCDE, yeah, I mean, the overtime,
All reimbursement, isn't
a
it?
lot of activity there. I think we all realize we need that. We don't like paying the money, but it's for a super good cause,
Where's
so.
money coming back?
Yeah, it's gonna be
It's mostly drugs.
Yeah, it's all reimbursement, right?
Just
So-
coming back in.
Very good. No further questions, let's get a roll call on these two additionals.
Councilmember Papera?
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas?
Yes.
Councilmember Witten?
Yes.
Councilmember Biggs?
Yep.
Councilmember Graham?
Yes.
And Councilmember Jessen?
Yes.
0.
That leaves the third additional request out there, what's your pleasure?
Motion to deny.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Rivas?
Yes.
Councilmember Witten?
Yes.
Councilmember Biggs?
Yes.
Councilmember Graham?
Yes.
Councilmember Jessen?
Yes.
Councilmember Papera?
Yes.
And would you tell the sheriff, thank you, would you tell the sheriff this is a new fund? We kind of want to track it a little closer, so we're not saying no new vehicles.
Right.
We're just saying that when you need a vehicle, just come talk to us. I kind of want to keep track of how the fund is going, so we don't, overstep ourselves here. All right, thanks. Have a good evening. Yep. Okay, now, we've done the airport, we've done, let's go to Plan Commission. What we have in front of you is a series of request planning and zoning impact fund. Reduction from 16.5 from 1110 salaries, reduced executive director, county planner from 64G to 40. We're moving some salaries around here. Reduction 1262 from FICA, reduction 1848 from PERF, reduction 3,000 from 1340 boards. Form 144 mirrors that. Reason, creation of the Stormwater Management Division. This, by the way, is going to hedge way right into the stormwater discussion. So, What's your pleasure with the Plan Commission requests?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Discussion. Seems like we're waiting for this, so it kind of makes sense. Any questions? We'll probably have some for the next one, but... Roll call?
Councilmember Witten?
Yes.
Councilmember Day?
Yes.
Councilmember Graham?
Yes.
Councilmember Jessen?
Yes.
Councilmember Paparad?
Yes.
Councilmember Reavis?
Yes.
6-0.
Very good, let's get to the stormwater. Ready for it? Lots of additionals. Creation of the stormwater department from stormwater loan, along with a bunch of 144s accompanying that. I won't read through them all, they're in front of you. What's your pleasure with this?
Make the motion.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion? I know most of us have had the opportunity to talk to the commissioners and the planning department and kind of go through all of our questions preliminarily, one-on-one. But do you have any trailing questions or concerns?
I do know there's line items down here for medical, life insurance, and PERF, et cetera, but I want to make certain, are all of the employees included in the insurance that you're adding?
Yes, those I'm making assumptions that the new employees that we hire right away, which would be 3 that we're looking at, the engineer, the project manager, and the clerical, I did add those positions in, assuming that they're going to want it. So basically, with that assumption and what I have with the Plan Commission and everything, those employees that have the insurance in the Plan Commission,
So everything is covered?
Yeah, they will be offered insurance. Now, whether they choose to take it or not will be up to them, but they will be offered.
And all the costs associated to the insurance, to these salaries, is all going to be incorporated in that fee.
You're not going to get your little sticky fingers in the general fund, right, Bob?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I assume the motion contained all the additionals on the 144s, is that correct?
Yep.
All right. Any further questions or concerns? I had a lot of them, they've all been answered.
Well, you know,
We got here.
this is something that is long overdue and it's needed, and I think that the main thing is we need to have transparency in this project. It's going to be like a one-person, where people have questions, they come in, they'll get answers, right? Or this will be online, a lot of your projects.
We are going to put this online. We're going to have signs out there posted on the projects saying that it's with the stormwater management. We do plan on having a website with question and answers on it, the reasons why we're having to do this. Yeah, we're going to be very open, and the intent too is every year that we're actually going to have an annual report posted explaining all of the projects we've done and all of our costs to them.
Plus, we'll have an appointment to the advisory board, which we're getting ready to make here in a second, as soon as we're done with this vote.
Yes. Well, I think it's wonderful that we're finally approaching this as it should be.
I'm going to make a comment.
The educational piece, I'd like to point out, that is a requirement of the federal mandate and the state of Indiana. So, that's part of the program. That is required.
Sylvia, did you have something else? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you what you said.
Mr. Booth, did you want to say something? He wanted to make a comment. He's on the drainage board.
Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Ed Booth, 165 East Highway 6, Belleville. Yeah, I've been a member of the drainage board and seen things develop, and I think it's developing in the right direction. There's some things I have reservations about. I don't know if there's any redundancy with the surveyor's office and the equipment they have, the equipment that might be in some of the other offices that they're going to use. If this stuff is all available, it might not need to be purchased. I know it's been explained to us, a lot of this, but as Sylvia had mentioned, I think it behooves the board and the stormwater board to have transparency, and as I hear they're going to have some things in place, the taxpayers need to know where their money is going. Now, I will mention that yesterday we had a meeting, and there were several people there already, knowing that this is coming about and their tax dollars are going to be paying for this service, and they're already coming with just their own personal agendas to be fixed. So I foresee in the coming of this, that there'll be more people wanting to know what my money is paying for and so forth. And some of it is comprehensible, some of it is frivolous. It doesn't need to be done, it has to be settled by neighbors and things like that.
Well, I think all this stuff is subject to open door laws and Freedom of Information Act requests and such, right, Scott?
Correct. That's, you know, some things that I don't understand, but I see a budget here that we're going from 200,000 to 3.5 million, and it's a big budget, it's needed. I'm not against the thought about fees from the whole county. In fact, I'm for it. It's long overdue. If we'd had the monies before, a lot more would have been done. But I will tell the board this, that under the supervision of Mr. Burris and Kevin Breisky, the board has done 4 of the 10 spots that were put out some years ago, trouble spots in the Ford County area. They've been done by the board as such. So things can be done. It's just that I think whatever happens, and I'm sure they're going to do it, the taxpayer needs to bang for their buck, and they need to know what's going on. That's all I have.
Thanks, Ed, appreciate that. Yeah, and what I was saying is this is all public, so it's gonna be open door law stuff, it's gonna be transparent, it's gonna be subject to Freedom of Information Act requests. We're gonna have, an appointment to that board, in which I would expect that as we move along, our appointment will report back to us, on what's going on in the projects and how things are progressing and moving. But notwithstanding that, can we get a roll call, please?
Are we doing the 144 on the second page?
The motion contains all of that.
That's what I say, okay.
Yeah.
And the job descriptions?
Job description's all there on the second page.
Yep, the whole stuff.
I just want to comment on which, this is a long time coming. We needed this for...
Right.
Well,
we've got some drainage issues that need to be remediated, so. Okay, can I get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Britton?
Yes.
Councilmember Diggs?
Yes.
Councilmember Graham?
Yes.
Councilmember Justin?
Yes.
Councilmember Papera?
Yep.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
Thank you, it's my understanding we're kind of hitting the ground running here, so we need to make our appointment to that board.
I nominate Mr. Rivas.
Second.
We have a nomination and a second, any others?
It's the best we can do.
Nobody else wanted it. With that in mind, all in favor of sending our best foot forward, Mr. Rivas, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Congratulations, Mr. Rivas.
And March 7th, 5 o'clock, here in 102, is our first meeting.
Don't tell me you can't make it.
Monday, March 7th.
Looks that way.
Sensilia.
You want, can Jeremy, can Dan be your proxy?
Well, Jeremy, what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be going over everything with the board. We're gonna be, there's gonna be an information packet. It's gonna be pretty much just an educational meeting on how we're gonna go forward, try to get everybody up to speed real quick. So, we look forward to you attending.
And Jeremy, quite frankly, Jeremy's our best choice for this. I mean, we all know that one of our big problem areas is in his district with respect to drainage in South Haven and some of the areas that needed some pretty heavy redress, so Jeremy knows the areas.
Largest unincorporated area in the state of Indiana.
So, okay, thank you very much.
I'll do my best.
I'm sure you will. We're all counting on you. Parks and Recreation. Walter. We got a bunch of stuff in front of us. Let's start with the Education Center, additional $98.17 and 10 cents to $39.80. Event expense, bidding, and negotiation costs from architect. Before we get into this, I just have a question myself. I have a question. I understand that the park board met And I've kind of lost a little bit of how this is trailed and where we're at now, but I know that at one point the park board had met and had decided to move forward with a request for the Alkiki Park and for the Education Center, sort of simultaneously.
Right.
Is that still the state of things, or have they pulled back that and decided to go one before the other? Where are we at right now, Walter?
Well, the park board hasn't met since that February meeting to make that decision.
Right.
A request was made to start with the commissioners. We were asked to hold off on that request. It didn't make sense to do one and not the other body, so we're pausing to wait for direction from this group and from the commissioners.
Okay, very good. Okay, let's go through these. What's your pleasure with the first one?
Move to approve.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. Discussion. Questions?
This is all non-general.
Correct. The first four on all the additionals are non-general.
Actually, I think, should we move the first three anyway? I have a question about the fourth one.
Jeremy, you have a question?
So with this educational center, is there a price tag on that?
Yes, the bids for the base bid came in just a hair under $3 million.
And how much was, you were going to put up how much? I thought our share was gonna be like 1.5.
The total amount that the park board has available to it, between the park board and the foundation, is approximately $700,000. But the request that we were preparing was $2.5 million.
Okay. So this request for the cost from the architect, is this work that's already been done then?
Correct. Yeah, the top three are actually all items that we were hoping to get in 2015, but we just didn't get the invoices from our contractors.
So I'll make a quick suggestion here. Would the motion second contemplate amending to include the first three requests so we can move this along?
Yes.
I would.
All right, so we have a motion and a second amended to include the first three additionals. These are work that's already been done. This is out of non-general fund money. Any further questions?
What is your time frame on this?
For the education center, we're ready to go as soon as we have funding available. So if you recall, there was a while ago, this board had asked us to do some work to sharpen the pencil, so to speak, get an exact number. We had an engineering estimate. We were asked to secure some more hard numbers. The park board went through that process. We used the funds that were available to us that we had generated already. We went through an open bidding process. We hired a construction manager, an architect. That's actually what we're paying for here, is his work during the bidding and negotiation process. Those numbers have come back. So we have those.
And to be honest with you, and I wasn't at that park board meeting, but I did contact our two appointments to that board, and I asked them, and I actually contacted one or two other members of that board, and I asked them to give me some feel as to what pot of money or what source of revenue that they anticipate asking that money from. The discussion that I got back, or at least the initial reaction was, the thought was to ask for it out of hospital interest or the part of that $10 million that we had set aside before we, outside of the foundation contribution. So at that point, I told our appointments to relate to the other board members, if they would, that request needs to go in front of the commissioners, because I know that the commissioners are working on a plan for some capital improvements and projects in the county, and I think it involves those same funds. So it made sense to me that they go to the commissioners first, see if that their request would fit anywhere in their plan, and then come to us, so we're not chasing our tail and, sort of retracing the ground again. Furthermore, I've asked the commissioners that whatever plan they put together for us that involves that $10 million, that it doesn't involve all $10 million, because quite frankly, we need to hold some of that back. And they've agreed to do that. So I think that it made sense. I think the commissioners would agree, correct, that before the park would come to us for a capital projects request, that particularly since it's coming from funds that the commissioners are looking at as well, that it go to you guys first, or how would you rather it be done?
Come to us first.
Done. So that made sense to me, and I think it makes sense in the procedure of it all. Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Can we get a roll call, please?
Biggs?
Yes.
Councilmember Graham?
Yes.
Councilmember Jessen?
Yes, you can't get the cart before the horse.
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas?
Yes.
And Councilmember Witten?
Yes. Non-reverting additional $19,000 to $2250 other supplies, summer camp expenses, $4,000 to $3120 consultants, fees for contractors who deliver programs for us, $5,000 to buildings and structures, trail improvements, and cross-country route development, $4,000 to $3980 event expenses, infrastructure improvements related to winter lights display. What's your pleasure?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion on the floor? Is there a second? I'll second it for discussion. Sylvia, you have questions?
Vicki, what is the balance in that non-reverting?
$29,751.
And so there's enough money there to pay for this?
Not right now.
Okay. Walter, is there any one of these things that you could delay maybe till the next meeting? You're short, how much are they short? About three?
Asking for what, $37,000?
How much is going into that fund monthly? How much is coming out? What's left?
No, the answer is any of them can wait. My idea was trying to get these in now rather than coming back to you month after month, part and parcel.
Oh, we like seeing you all.
Oh, I know. I'm disappointed, Bob. I wasn't on the list of the easy ones. I thought it was pretty simple, in the fund department.
How much is left in there, Vicki?
The ones that...
About $29,000. This Saturday will be our big boost. It's our open house for summer camp registration, which represents about 60-some% of our income for that fund.
What two here, Walter, can we approve tonight, and you'll wait on the other two?
The most important to us is the summer camp expenses, but that can wait.
Is there $19,000 in there right now?
Yes, 29. Yeah.
So we could do the $19,000 and then wait on the others, or the $19,000 and one more and wait on the other two?
Mr. Whitten?
Yes.
Why don't we just approve them all pending availability of funds?
I don't want to do that. I'm not voting on that kind of stuff anymore. The money's not there, I'm voting no.
Yeah, that's probably...
Have you started your event expenses yet? The last one?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the same boat as Dan. We don't spend what we don't have
Okay.
available to us.
Well, we're asking you to choose which, you have $29,000 to spend.
Correct. The most critical at this point to me would be the $19,000 for other supplies.
Choose wisely, my friend.
Let me ask the motion second. Pick a couple. He wants the $19,000, pick another one.
It would be the infrastructure improvements.
All right. So motion and second concur with,
Can we just cut them in half, give them some...
no, let's just do it. He said we can all wait.
This isn't brain surgery, folks, come on.
All right, so the motion is for the $19,000 summer camp expenses and the $4,000 for infrastructure improvements. Is that correct, motion and second?
Yes.
All right, and so let's get a roll call on those two. He said that, I took...
Councilmember Graham?
Yes.
Councilmember Jessen?
Yes.
Councilmember Paparad?
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas?
Yeah.
Councilmember Whitten?
Yes.
And Councilmember Biggs?
Yes.
The big stuff.
And the other two, I guess we could table those, or...
I just want to say, congratulations to you, Walter. You've grown every year.
We'll get to...
Oh, I thought you were done.
No, I want to deal with the other two. Otherwise, I'll forget.
Dan, if you continue into a date certain, like our next meeting, then we don't have to re-advertise.
All right, so let's do that. Can I get a motion to continue this to our next...
Second.
Motion and a second to continue the two additionals to the next regular scheduled meeting. Roll call.
Councilmember Jessen?
Yes.
Councilmember Paparad?
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas?
Yes.
Councilmember Whitten?
Yes.
Councilmember Biggs?
Yep.
And Councilmember Graham?
Yes.
Sylvia?
I was just going to compliment Walter on the tremendous job you're doing with the parks. You grow every year. It's really astounding how much you have grown, the system out there. You're doing a great job.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Our park board and our staff are really the reason. They're the ones that have been putting the effort in. But
And the reason you were not on the easy list was the funding thing.
I'm all right with
You're
that.
on the naughty list with
All
the
right.
funding.
All good.
Okay, so That takes care of that. Let's go to the general fund requests. There's a series of transfers. $4,035 from salaries contractual, playground retaining wall, dock design, engineering fees carried over from 2015, and there's a transfer of $36,1979 from salaries to event expenses, materialized expenses carried over from 15. Transfer $254.51 from salaries, other supplies, program supplies, equipment costs carried over from 15. Additional transfer, $514.20 from salaries to consultants, program contractor expenses carried over from 2015. Other transfer of $1,500 from hourly contractual services, hiring of AmeriCorps service member for 2016. So it sounds like the lion's share of this is stuff that was done last year, and we just carried it over to get it.
Yep.
Okay, what's your request for these transfers? We have a motion on the transfers, is there a second?
Second.
We got a second on the floor. Any discussion on these? It sounds like...
Autopsies.
I know, it's crazy.
What's having an autopsy done?
Squirrels?
No,
What is now? Part of the consultant line item.
Wasn't it the cow and the goat?
All right.
It was a goat thing, wasn't it?
Consultants includes in parentheses autopsy.
I didn't know if you had some mad scientist thing going on there or something.
Well, I'm not saying that.
Just want to make sure.
It was goats, sir.
Any other questions?
Key Park, is that how you pronounce it?
Correct.
What's going on there? Where's that at, South Park?
Correct, it's just north of the town accounts, right on 49, 650 south.
We're going to have an opportunity to vote on the funding of that park, and depending on what, I mean, again, I've tried this sort of from a cursory overview, see where they were going and what was developing, and I've seen different thoughts and ideas, and I haven't really weighed in until it comes in front of us. I'd like to see a South County Park of some sort. Am I in favor of a multi-million-dollar state-of-the-art facility? No.
Is this what that location is?
Kiki Park?
Yeah.
It'll be
a proposal for that massive complex?
Well, it'll be an active recreation facility. It's not gonna be a, mega facility like what's gonna happen up in Portage, if that's what you mean. It's gonna be,
That ain't gonna happen.
well, what's been proposed in Portage. It's, it's gonna be great and diamond fields for kids and, families down in that part of the county, absolutely. East Porter County Schools is, hopefully gonna be a partner with that. Mr. Jessen joined us for, as Commissioner Blandy did, for the presentation with them. The town of Counts is a stakeholder in that, so there's some very dedicated, very involved people who have pushed this forward.
That's good.
I'm in favor, for me, of a park in South County where kids can go play a little stickball and some families can congregate. I'm not in favor at this time of a multi-million-dollar facility, just to let you know.
By definition, it will be more than $1 million, I guarantee. So it will be multi-million, but not the $30 million that our original consultant shared.
That's the one that...
If it gives you an idea, the engineering estimates that we received, just for the excavation, the grading, things of that nature, just to get the ground level for seeding, our original engineer gave us a number north of $3 million. When we actually got the estimates from local contractors for excavation, grading, and the parking lot, and seeding, and irrigation lines, it was about $1.5 million. So the numbers right now are coming in much less. We're very excited about it. We're very excited about the fact that East Porter County Schools wants to be involved at some level, but the town of Counts wants to be involved at some level. So things are looking very positive for the project.
And Walter, you've also had several public input discussions and presentations.
Multiple. Yeah, the comment that was made to me is that the Counts Town Council office or room was never so filled as it was for that meeting. Even those that were not so sure...
People from town showed up.
No, quite truthfully, it is a good project, and it's something that's needed in South County. Well, it would facilitate 3 schools, actually possibly 4 in the South County area that doesn't have these things available to it now. However, at this time, we're, in a kind of a hard place in the rock with the money.
Understood.
All right, so that sounds great. Any other questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
So when this investor up north is going to build his $70 million...
Opposed? Hearing none, transfers are approved. Councilman Rivas, did you have a question?
Yeah, so when this investor up north can't find his, all the investors to jump in, because I don't think he has any, county's gonna jump right in and help build this $70 million complex, so Portage...
It isn't gonna be that expensive.
That would be a big, no.
The focus on this facility is gonna be getting local kids in there.
Scott, did you have something?
Walter, do you need to transfer from that additional, we did an additional from 3980 into 3980 event expenses, do you actually need that now transferred to?
If we're able to do that now,
3950, we can do a transfer.
yeah, I don't know why that mistake happened, and I apologize to Joy, I'm not sure what
Answer the
happened.
question, Mr. Biggs.
So, what I would ask is that if we could do a transfer of $9,817.10 from 3980 event expenses.
The 3950 contractual services?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Can I get a motion on that? We have a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed, transfer approved.
I just told you, easy.
Easy as pie. See you later, Wilson. Yes?
Mr. Biggs is against, everything in Portage right now, in this
Oh, stop it,
county building, a park. I mean, Portage is the largest city in the county, let's not just always shove them to the side.
I don't know what you're talking about. Campaign manager gets you.
This next one will be pretty quick. Election board. Elections general fund transfer in front of us. Come on up, Dave. Is, anybody else from the election board here?
No, they're all on vacation or out and about.
Together?
I don't think so.
Okay. So, we have had discussions upon discussions ad nauseum about the e-poll books and about the current state of affairs with the e-poll books. I've had opportunities to talk with the vendor, ES&S, the representatives of their company. I've doubled back around and asked our attorney to have discussions with them. I've talked to Mr. Bangs along the way. I've talked to other stakeholders in this, I suppose. Mr. McClure, would you sort of break it, well, not sort of, would you definitively break down what we are being asked to do tonight and what our options are? Mr. McClure.
All right, thank you. So, I was able to talk with ES&S's corporate counsel, their CFO.
ES&S is the vendor.
They're the ones that sold us the e-poll books. It's ultimately, and there's going to be obviously a great amount of discussion in between, but I want to start off with the two options that we really have before us tonight. The first option is that we do, or we release, and I believe because there's some confusion that we have to get through in a minute about what's been held to pay some of this stuff, but in the short term, do a transfer to allow a $58,256.99 payment be made to ES&S to bring us current to our 2015 outstanding invoices.
Say that number again, 58,000 what?
$58,256.99 would be for the e-poll books. There are two additional invoices that I will get you the exact number, but they are roughly around $2,500.
A piece or total?
Let's see, one is for one's for $1,430.82.
All right, so...
That would bring us current through 2015, most of which, I believe we've already received the 2016 invoices that are going to be closely mirrored to what those numbers I just gave you.
Okay.
So that's option one. And so I want you to understand, to make that payment, we've gotten ourselves kind of out of the...
We're current, but we're looking now at our 16 invoice that comes down the road.
Again in 2017.
Okay.
Okay? Now...
And 17's relatively close to the number from 15.
15, 16, 17 would almost be mirrors. Okay?
Go on.
The second option that I worked with corporate counsel today would be something a little bit more like a pay off the total amount, work out a credit for them to buy back the e-poll books, try to save some money, but it would require us sending the e-poll books back.
Okay.
So, under that scenario, the total of these invoices would be $153,692.13.
Now, let me ask you a question, Scott.
That's for all 3 years.
All right, let me ask you a question on that. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I want to make sure I cover. I know that in this agreement that was done, that there were finance charges, there were all those sorts of things. So if we were to pay the contract in full with finance charges included, what's that number?
For these invoices I'm talking about, they would be $153,692.13.
That would include finance charges?
That includes.
Okay. Go on.
What ES&S would do at this point, and I have it in an email confirming that, is that if we paid them $140,000 by the end of the week.
Well, at least it'd give us a lot of time to think it over.
And that would take care of the 3 invoices for the e-poll books and 1 year of the BOD invoice, which is I believe, the on-demand printers. That would have, obviously, around a $13,000 savings, well, $13,692.13. They would also be willing to buy back the e-poll books. My understanding is we'd keep 8, and we would get $125 a poll book, or an extra $10,500. So at the end of the day, the total savings would be about $23,692.13.
Okay, on that...
Those are really our 2 options.
On that second option, along that vein, if we... Okay, let me ask a couple of questions, because my conversations with ES&S, I just really wanted to know what the state of the technology was, how much these e-poll books might be losing their value on trade-in. And what he indicated to me, or what somebody indicated to me over there, was that that the next wave of technology had already come, and that in a sense what we have are similar to, you have an iPhone 5 and people are carrying around iPhone 6 plus. That's kind of what the thought was, because the new wave does other things, does more things. And so the concern they had was that in the trade-in, or the return of the e-poll books, they're not of great value right now, and getting worse.
I would agree that it was not easy to procure any credit back for our current e-poll books. They would, in all fairness, they would service them for approximately another 7 or 8 years. My understanding is they have moved into something more, and I'm not going to use the proper term, but something more like an iPad type of format, okay? But also, the reason why I was attempting to get some sort of resolution to this is that, also, not to make this discussion any more difficult, however, we don't have enough of these things to do this election.
Right, so yeah, that was going to be my next question, not to interrupt you. If we keep these e-poll books, and we just pay this option 1, we just pay this year, we get into next year, we get another invoice, or we pay 16's invoice, at some point, we're going to need new e-poll books. If we're going to run a municipal or presidential year election, correct?
We would need additional books if you want to do a full 123 precinct boards. That's without any consolidation, any change in polling place location.
Right, and that's a discussion, that's a
whole different...
But that's assuming we're using e-poll books.
That's correct. I mean, so the thought is, we're not going to keep the e-poll books and store them in boxes in the back room, kind of like, Raiders of the Lost Ark, someone can find them in, 200 years. We're going to either use them or return them. If we return them, we return them. If we decide that we just want to keep using e-poll books, it's my understanding, it's either all in or all out scenario, so we either buy more e-poll books or we consolidate voting locations. And when I say we, I mean they. So, those are our options. Option 1, it leads to that. Option 2, moves another direction. If we decide to pay off the contract, and I'm gonna ask Dave for his input here in just a second. If we decide to pay off the contracts, or pay off the invoice and be done with the contract, what happens, it's not up to us to return the e-poll books. We don't have that authority. We didn't sign the contract, we're not the election board, is that correct, Scott?
Correct. That's why we have to have...
So, that would put it back to the election board to decide what to do with those. What would you do with them?
If we pay them off, or...
If we just paid off the contract, here it is, $140,000, they give us a $10,000 credit or, deduction for the e-poll books. Has the election board had any discussions with respect to what it would do in that circumstance? And furthermore, has the election board had any discussions about if we continue down the e-poll book path, about trying to step up to the next phase of technology and what that might cost?
Okay. Well, for this year's elections, the e-poll books won't be used. I mean, that's already done. Whether we would decide to buy more tonight, it's too late.
Right. And unlikely.
Right, which is unlikely anyway, so we're going to go back to the paper books for this year's election. For the following year, being an off year, that would be the year also when the service contracts are going to be up with the S&S on software, maintenance on the other machines as well. We've already began, based on the conference we had in December, when the vendors are all there and they display their wares and so forth. We've already looked at different machines that the voter registration's already looked at and see if that's something that they would want to use as a replacement for our current technology, because even the M100s, which are the scanners, the optical scanners, those are also kind of reaching the end of their lifespan. So instead of purchasing any piecemeal machines this year, or even additional machines, we've already had a vote our last meeting last week that we're not going to do any additional purchases. If we're going to use the paper poll books, there's no reason to make another contract, another lease, or buy something additional when we're not going to use it anyway. Right. We don't have enough of them to use all electronics, so there's no point in buying anything additional. So my concern, I think, when I talk to you and even the board, is if we pay the entire balance off, yes, it would be a savings, and I don't dispute that, but my concern is if we're not buying anything in return, similar to trading in a used car that I used the example with you, is that if I have nothing to buy, well, the guy who's buying my used car, he doesn't have any reason to give me the best price. If I'm buying a brand-new Cadillac, well, then of course, I see it all the time with the salesman. All of a sudden now my trade-in just jumped $10,000 because he wants to sell me a new car. So you have that issue there. Now we also have the issue which you mentioned. If we don't do a trade-in, then you have a storage issue that we're sitting on them. When we're going to solicit a new bid at the end of the year after the presidential election has been completed in November. And when I say solicit a new bid, that means an entire new contract for software, whatever replacement equipment that we've chosen. You still have to get approval through the council and the commissioners, even to decide if that's what we're going to bid for. So we won't have an issue of funding.
Or you buy them and come to us later. There's that.
Well, we could always do that, but it worked so well last time. I don't think we'll do that. But, so I mean, there's other issues, I guess, involved with what I'm saying is, in the e-poll books, yes, they're last year's model or the 5. They could still be used with the other equipment and other vendors, that can be done.
Well, that was going to be my question. That's my
question. In a sense, like you said, though, if we're going to have to go through a new contract anyway to buy new equipment,
right,
we're not going to do that.
Well, here's my question, and this part I don't really have a great handle on, and that's, what further things do we need that ES&S would be a potential vendor? If we didn't have the e-poll books, what other things do we use them for? Yeah.
They're our exclusive vendor for all of our voting stuff.
Now, when you say exclusive vendor, we will have other vendors with the capability to bid and...
Sure.
Yeah.
At the end of this year, our exclusive contract ends at the end of this year.
It's not gonna just renew on its own and none of that stuff, right? Okay, so when we...
Dan, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Are we obligated to buy the 16 and 17 e-poll books?
They're the same e-poll books, Bob.
No, I mean, are we obligated to buy more?
No.
No.
So we
And when
bought,
I say 16 and 17, when we bought these things, we did it on 3 payments.
right,
So it's just the 16 and 17 payments.
so we're obligated to pay the whole thing?
Yes.
And that's where I sent Scott to try to negotiate the best bang for our buck on a payoff option. So my other question then is, okay, Mr. Banks here raises an interesting point. In your conversations with ES&S's counsel, was there any thought or discussion as to that if, when it came up time to bid on a future contract, would we be in a position to do better on the trade-in value of the e-poll books? I got just the converse, quite frankly. I mean, I didn't ask it that way, but I just said, what's the trade-in value now, and what would be the trade-in value then? And they said it was just dropping like a stone.
Well, and I think the other problem is that I think
they say that.
I think Mr. Banks makes a good point, but the counterpoint to it is this, is that ES&S isn't going to go down this trail with us again. We're not going to be sitting at the beginning of next year not paying 16's
Right.
Invoice. So before we get to the point where we're sitting and negotiating potentially new issues or new contracts with ES&S, we're going to have paid 15 and 16. So we're probably going to be, in rough numbers, $120,000, $130,000 into this anyway.
Whereas if we were to pay the $140,000, here's the million-dollar question, or should I say the $140,000 question, where would that money come from?
Well, what I would ask for you to do tonight would be to do the transfers within their budget to allow that much money to be available. Give them the assurance from this board that we would come back at our next meeting, give them the additional to replenish their line items. I mean, that's the only way we could do it.
Okay, and they have sufficient funds in there right now to do that?
Yeah, I mean, some of what we'd have to sit here and discuss a little bit here is they have some encumbered, there's encumbered things from 15, there's encumbered things...
What's the balance of these funds?
Bottom line.
Just tell me that.
Well, what account are you looking at?
I don't know.
Go to
So I'm asking you, what account will be?
balance and clothing, there's 82,000 left in the appropriation. There's 129,000 that's encumbered to ESM. So you get 82,000 right there.
We just don't know what those invoices, whether they covered them for.
Yeah, I mean, are those encumbered?
We cancel those purchase orders and delay them until next month.
Or, I think they're the same.
I think so, same.
I don't think, to be clear, I don't think we have encumbered amounts for other stuff.
Yeah, that's on...
I think we have encumbered amounts for this stuff.
right.
Is that correct, Vicki?
Actually, that's for him. That,
As far as I know, I mean, the problem was, is there were checks being held and not paid, and then all of a sudden there was, we're releasing some payments, and so I never got a clear picture as to what it was.
So we have to do this by this Friday?
yeah.
Really?
Yeah, that's how long it's been.
I mean,
I didn't know who did the clarification on
Well,
here.
the other issue is that, we have issues with ES&S that need to be resolved.
Okay, so which path do you have a proclivity to follow?
Someone needs to further explain it. The third choice.
No. What further explaining? Are you concerned about the funding source?
What I'd like to know is what we originally signed on for, and where we're at with paying that obligation, and if we have any intention, if it's a recommendation of election board, to follow through that obligation and use the e-poll books.
I think I can answer both of those. Go on.
And if we do that, it's my impression that that would be a total of expense that yet needs to be paid of $154,000. And then we'd have e-poll books, they'd work as they originally were planned for or were purchased. It's either that or, that's option one. Option two is, we pay $130,000.
40.
I thought there was a discount or something.
That's a credit for future purchases.
Okay, so let's say so we get we pay $140,000 and get a $10,000 credit, but get nothing. The e-poll books are gone, we give them back, all but 8.
Right, and what I would add is this. Your analysis is correct, except the problem is, the 84 poll books we have aren't enough to do the presidential elections. So option 1 is...
Buy more.
If we chose option 1 and paid the invoices as we should, and moving forward, we would have to probably come back and pay for another 59 or so.
So the $154,000 is for 84, which is not enough.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that obviously wasn't the original plan of the election board, you were gonna buy more than that. How much more was that gonna be?
Well, you have another 50, books a year.
It's either 54 or 59 to buy.
It's like 54.
I think you wanted a couple extras just in case.
Right.
Yeah.
So in addition to the $154,000, it'd be how much more money?
Whatever the cost would have been, I don't know what we never even got that far.
About, in rough numbers, about $100,000.
So option 1 is to pay off $150-some thousand, plus we'd have to, that would be an exercise in futility if we didn't then buy another $100,000 worth of them.
And my 100,000 is an estimate based upon the...
It might be slightly high, but it's close.
Based upon what we paid for 40.
Yeah.
What does paper ballots cost us per election? Just curious.
Well, the paper ballots this time will probably close $80,000.
About 80,000.
I would guess.
All those big supporters will be coming out.
This just seems like, I don't know,
People like those paper.
I mean, this just seems like a huge mess.
Keep in mind, ballots aren't, the e-poll books don't address the ballots. We still need ballots.
No.
It's just a question of, I guess if we had put on demand.
I'm just seeing a huge expense here, and it grows, it seems like every time, and David, this has nothing to do, I know you don't vote.
And also, I just say, some of this, especially for you, I didn't get confirmation of what ES&S would do or not do till 2 o'clock this afternoon, and even...
And that's fine, Scott, but I want to just address one quick thing. I mean, here's the thing. The one elephant in the room is that these decisions were made before the funding was secured, before the funding was requested. So that by the time we got into the discussion or got our seat at the table, the train had left the station. Okay? So if you don't buy into the fact, if you're somebody who doesn't buy into the fact that the e-poll books were a necessary expense that's going to continue to be an expense, you've been handed a hot mess. And you're starting to think to yourself, what's our cheapest way to get out of this unnecessary expenditure? If, however, at the 13th hour, you are somebody that says, hey, you know what? Even though the council said, don't make any unnecessary expenditures, I'm okay with this expenditure because I think e-poll books are the way to the future. Then you're all about, we don't want to give these back, we don't want to be left dancing in empty pockets. Let's go on forward and find out $100,000 after we're done with 153, and we'll have e-poll books, and life will be great in that regard. So the problem is we, as a board, have been looking for that sweet spot where everything makes sense. And the problem is, it makes no sense, because the cart was before the horse, and now we're being asked to put it all back in the right order, and neither one of these lead to a great conclusion.
No, they're both a loss.
So I guess from a individual standpoint, I guess we just have to decide as we vote on this, where we individually weigh in on those two philosophies.
And I'd like to hear the election board's proposal or recommendation. What do you suggest we do?
My recommendation would be to make the payments to bring us current, so you have less expenditure, but if Scott has negotiated a better deal to pay it off in full, that we can realize some savings there, then that would be probably the better choice. My concern is that you're trading them in for a credit, and it may be premature.
It's a $10,000 credit. It doesn't make anything whole. No. The bottom line is, if we give up on the program, which may be the answer, we're throwing away $140,000.
It's a huge loss either way.
So are we saying throw it away, or are we saying go forward with e-poll books?
What I'm saying is that if you're gonna trade it in and seek a credit, I think you seek a credit if you have something to purchase in return. I think if you're asking for credit after you just paid them off,
Steve, let me just ask you this. I see that, but I think what Mike might be asking you, and I don't want to speak for Mike, but I think what he might be asking you is from the election board standpoint, have you guys, in your discussions and meetings, changed obviously, your original plan was to have e-poll books at every voting place in this county? Sure. Has anything occurred that has led you to believe that perhaps getting away from the e-poll book program is the way to go?
no. Nothing changed there. I mean, the performance was there. I mean, everything, it did what it was supposed to do, but obviously, we don't have the funds to complete the project or the consolidation that was anticipated to go with it, so we wouldn't have to buy the additional books, then that's where it all unraveled.
But the problem is, what they bought, the day it was delivered was outdated.
Well, that's true of a lot of technology.
They're probably going to 4G, and I hear that there's 5G on the horizon, and that's what, these are probably 3G, and so blah, blah, blah.
So, does that answer your question, Mike? It seems to me that, in my conversations with Dave, and with Karen Martin, and with Kathy Kazuzik, and with everybody else that walks in that office, is that they wanted, their vision was to have e-poll books at every voting location, and I think that, depending on who you talk to, there was, I'm just gonna say it, there was some indication in some people's minds that by purchasing this amount of e-poll books would sort of lead the county into voting center consolidation. I'm just going to say it. So that was the thought. Not that, in some people's minds, not that they were going to be coming back for additional e-poll books, but that this would force the discussion, or at least bring the discussion forward about consolidation of voting centers, or voting locations. So as we sit here today, they still would like to have e-poll books. They don't have the money. It would require an additional $100,000 commitment from us. My concern with only paying 15 is that Scott has negotiated a credit, albeit not a big one, and that negotiation, obviously, if we don't pay it in full, will be all for naught, which may be the direction we want to go, but
the problem is we're buying obsolete technology, and they admit it.
Right.
So why are we going forward with outdated technology now?
And we have been given no figures on what the cost to maintain this program is moving forward each year.
Well, it had been the service contract that we currently have with ES.
And what is that annually?
That was the software service contract, which is a separate contract that we currently have with our current voting or election software.
But that doesn't include any replacement books or anything like that?
You have to purchase those if...
Yeah, I'm just, this is messed up backwards, forwards, and sideways.
And Mike, I understand your, I know where we're going. It's a head scratcher.
Well,
because it's a no-win.
Yeah, it's a no-win.
A Hobson's choice, as we used to say back in Old England.
We just can't send them back and say, sorry, didn't work, but here's 20 grand?
No.
Why not? They don't want their stuff back?
Well, we've only used it for 2 elections.
They don't want their stuff back?
No.
Yeah, there's a reason for that.
So, here we are. Now, we talked about this for months, and here we are, and we've got to do something. So, what's your pleasure? Anyone?
Well, I don't know, my view on this is a little bit different, I guess, in that we've already spent, a lot of the taxpayers' money's been appropriated toward this effort, or spent toward this effort. And, to turn our backs and walk away from it, I don't know how you do that. I think we pay what we owe, move forward with this, and expect the Voters Registration Office to give us an update on how this is progressing, so we're on top of it, because we certainly, you've asked us to back into the garage sideways, which is impossible, and there's no winning solution here, but I'm not gonna throw away $100,000+ of the taxpayers' money because somebody else made a mistake.
But you're committing, in doing so, I get it, you're committing another $100,000, I get it. Okay.
And I can't...
One at a time. Jeremy, go ahead.
we wouldn't even have the opportunity to purchase the new e-poll books in time for this election?
We're not gonna,
No.
yeah, we're not gonna purchase any.
So it would move forward, it doesn't sound like moving forward is even an option, Mr. Biggs, with these e-poll books.
Yeah, what I anticipate is that we use the equipment and trade them in on whatever the new equipment that we're gonna pursue
Right,
for
so
the
just
next election cycle.
For clarity purposes, if we paid the invoice for 15, paid the invoice for 16, right now, the election board's plan would be, because we can't use them for this year's election. We don't have election next year.
So they're even older.
So we would then use them when we go out.
I don't think we'd use them again.
Well, hold on a second, yeah, so that's my point. So we would then, as part of the process of renegotiating our service contract with ES&S, at that point, we would try to work out the trade-in value, right?
Correct. That's, my thought was, is if we bring ourselves current, we can't use them. That's where we ran into the obstacle. We couldn't do it any further to get the additional books to have it for the entire election. So, when the new contract is negotiated or bid out, because again, we can't just go to ES&S, we have to publicly bid, because this is a large contract with software servicing, the addition, the current M100. There's other machines, it's not just the e-poll books. So your dollar value is going to hit your public limitation, so you're going to have to solicit bids. Now, of course, the ES&S is going to have a huge advantage because we're using their software. So that's going to make it difficult for another vendor to come in and try to replace their software, plus the machinery, and still be less than what ES&S could offer on whatever the machine is we choose.
It's a nice racket.
So you've got...
We don't like to use terms like racket.
Right, and you got the other, so you basically take that hardware and then turn around and trade it in on the next contract. And that way we'd have a better chance, I think, to negotiate a better trade-in.
So I think that the net result is, I think what Dave's telling you is that it just sounds like either way, we're not going to be using these e-poll books.
Because, and I apologize, Dave, but if you can clarify what your proposal is, you're saying the e-poll books are not usable in the future? I understand that, but I'm saying the idea of it, if we had more, would they be as great of an idea as they originally were?
We could still use them with whatever new equipment we purchase, if, they're compatible. I mean, they could be used with several different devices. It just depends if it matches the device that is the consensus choice for the future election equipment.
Well, it seems like from ES&S's, at least from ES&S's recitation, and I don't want to put words in people's mouths, but this is what I gathered from it, that the equipment that we'd be looking at, or perhaps be looking at, if we wanted to get sort of the state-of-the-art equipment there is a compatibility issue with the e-poll books, and we might be finding ourselves needing some sort of upgrade in the e-poll books to be compatible with the new equipment that we get. I mean, there is that nexus, and they couldn't tell me if they would be able to do that.
So you're not suggesting that we buy more of them?
No, because it doesn't do us any good to buy any more today because we can't use them this year. So, we're done.
And you're suggesting the ones that we have,
we
trade those in?
Correct.
At some incredibly low value?
No, his suggestion is to wait till they're, towards the end of this year, when they're redoing their total service contract. If ES&S is, because there's only, in this world of vendors, we're down to 3 or 4 vendors.
I think there's only 4.
In the whole state. So those 4 vendors are going to get solicited. We're then going to look at it from a service and from a machine standpoint. What the real issue here is that ES&S is going to have a leg up on everybody else because we currently have their software and their equipment. Some of that equipment may need to get changed out, but ultimately, the dollar amount is going to be significantly higher to change from ES&S to go to another vendor. So, I think what he's suggesting is that we bring them current, and to be clear, he's saying, so pay 15 and 16?
Our lease payment.
Pay 15 and 16, get towards the end of the year, and when they're renegotiating that service contract, assuming ES&S is chosen, at that point, we work out some sort of buyback credit, et cetera.
That's my motion. That's my motion. We pay them off right now and do exactly that.
Well, that's not what he just said.
That's not what I'm saying.
No, pay the $140,000. Let's pay them out, $140,000, and then from that point in time, is that your job now to
trade them in and get the best...
No, this would be the agreement, if we go that route, the agreement would be to pay them $140,000. There's those two other invoices I talked about. We would get, part of that agreement would be, we would get a $10,500 credit towards future purchases, and these e-poll books would have to be returned.
Well, so we're gonna pay $140,000, round numbers, get a $10,000 credit, and give back 82 poll books.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
Or pay roughly $120,000 between 15 and 16, wait till we get to the end of the year, and wait for the election board to negotiate whatever buyback's coming back.
Say that again?
Or pay 15's invoices that are due, pay 16's invoices that I'm sure are in this building, okay? And then when we get towards the end of the year and they go through their process with ES&S and the other people, if ES&S is chosen at that point through that process, then negotiate some sort of buyback.
And what does that cost, right there, that you just said, pay this one, pay next year? Is that
No, that's roughly, to get 15 and 16 invoices is roughly about $125,000. And then we would have to rely on voters' registration, election board to work it out with.
Say that again. So right now, we got, let's be clear on this, we got 58,000 for 15.
Yep.
We got 16 about the same.
Yep.
And we got 17 about the same. So we're talking about $170-some thousand over the long haul if you pay these three invoices out. $170-some thousand.
Correct.
What Scott's telling you is for $140,000, we're done. Right?
In round numbers.
And we have nothing.
No, we have nothing.
Okay.
So the question, look, we can't put the toothpaste back in the tube.
If we're gonna pay it off 17's bill, don't we get more poll books?
No.
No!
Why not?
Because that's not in the contract.
What was the contract, what's in the contract? Just the 82?
Yes!
84.
84, spread over 3 years.
Yes.
So they contracted for 84 poll books, knowing there was 120-some polling places.
Okay, all right, I got it.
Where was that
For some reason I had it in my head, heaven forbid that they negotiated, they buy all the poll books.
Well, they don't want, here's the big...
Well, now they don't want it.
They don't want 120-some polling places. Whether you believe in that or not, that's what their vision is.
2 years ago they did.
I don't think that's true at all. I think 2 years ago they wanted less than 80-some.
The plan all along was to go to e-poll books.
All right, so here, it's a lose.
There you go.
So, which lose do you guys want to do?
Yeah, it's 140.
At a bare minimum, I need you to do the 58.
All right, hold on a minute. Bob has to use the restroom. 5 minutes.
What?
You're the one giving me the potty break sign.
So 60,000, so 180,000. And we at least have 84 poll books that we may want or may not want to have, and you can trade them in for whatever they're worth. Or you pay $140,000 and get nothing. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't.
$140,000. And then the card is up on the back. Then you get off. That's other, I mean, I got 3 years, that's about $170,000. Somebody just didn't say that. Times 3. Well, you try to negotiate. Probably another 100. Well, to use them. Or use those negotiating. It's not about balance. You guys need to know this, when it's talking about balance, it's not about balance.
The idea was to get some books so that then everyone was forced to consolidate and they use some polling place. It was a bad thing to get your consolidated polls. And that's why this is trying to do it, because that was the discussion. Okay, early voting, center voting, it's all one place.
So not kidding for this year, no election next year, so then you're talking, for this whole technology, back in 17.
I understand you're just concerned because you got nothing, there's no way to walk out of this. Completely useless. They get them upgraded unless you buy upgraded or antiquated.
Or you pay it off or something, and that's what you do, you just pull out some stuff, you'll take those, and you try to negotiate with them later. But I would say that Cadillac model, so like then, but then if they want your business.
So there's an idea, I do like the big purchase.
Here I am trying to figure out, I mean, I guess the easy answer for us is invoice, and I don't pay attention, and worry about this 16 days a year, push along the year, but that's just coming down the road and it's getting worse.
It's a long one. Yes.
My name is Nelson Skidden.
Hey, Nelson, how are you?
What I'm confused about is, I heard the election board say they don't have enough votes for this upcoming presidential election.
Yes.
And the solutions talked about here doesn't address that at all. So what is it they plan on doing for 2016?
I think what they were hoping was that if they only bought 80-some e-poll books, that the election board would be forced into consolidation of polling places.
I understand that,
but they didn't.
Yes, so.
And all that stuff's out of our...
So whatever you guys do here doesn't solve that issue. They still don't know what they're going to do.
By the time, and that's right, it's too late. It's too late to get them enacted for 16. There's no election in 17. So we would be literally sitting on them for 2.5 years. Best case scenario. Yes, sir. Hope that answers your question.
What's some of the benefits?
It never occurred.
Here, listen.
He wants that was the question. Best thing to be politically is we paid it to think ways.
We're going to...
Pay the...
Well, no, it's going to...
16, not gonna deal with it.
The election board, actually, it is. No, just like the... That has already been decided for this person. They're going to use these e-poll for early voting. Then, when it comes to the election, they'll use the big books like they've always done.
Do my election there.
That's the plan.
Correct. Okay.
See, to me, we just bring a card and then let's trade stuff in when we buy, because you have to trade in the M100 yet, too. Yeah, we got 100 and some machines there that we gotta do. Okay, I mean, it's not just them.
Right. Yeah, there's more stuff.
We got everything negotiated. They can bend over and give us whatever we want if we ask.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense. Scott, you ready?
Yeah.
Let's get back to it. No, I want to hear what Scott has to say. Maybe. I want to hear what he says. Yeah, maybe, don't say no, because it may actually make sense. You may like that. Like giving birth. Here's what you got there. In 8 months, you get to explain the sequence. Eventually, why you should win.
That's right. Coming eventually.
Everyone's so nervous, all of a sudden, little buddy crying, and it's all good.
I know, but there might be another way. Let's see what Scott has to say. Maybe not. But we can explain it. They put us in a bad spot. Okay.
Maybe that needs to be made clear. This is a mess that we were getting, we have no, it's bad, we're losing, one way or another. Decisions were made without coming to this board, and now we're just
trying to clean up the mess.
We have to explain to the taxpayers why we're probably losing a couple $100,000 of their money. Their hard-earned money because people didn't know how to follow that.
It is sounding a whole lot like absolute egregious government waste. That's what it's sounding like. And the problem that we have is there is absolutely nothing we can do about it now. Now, Scott, give us a suggestion on how we might mediate some of that obnoxious waste of taxpayer money that has been done outside of our purview.
All right, I think Mr. Bang's suggestion is that we pay the 15 invoices. We do that by a transfer tonight, unencumber those funds, do whatever we need to do to get that payment made. Allow them to then come back to us for the 16 payment, get that payment made. That brings us current and let the voters, let the election board deal with whatever happens for 2017 when they deal with their new contract at the end of this year. And Mr. Banks seems to think he might be able to do better under those circumstances, and at this point, give him the opportunity.
So is it your suggestion so I want to make sure I'm clear on this. The thought is we pay our 15 and 16 invoices. There are a lot of contract negotiations that will be going on because there are other equipment that we need to purchase or upgrade. Is that correct, Mr. Banks?
Correct. All our contracts are going to expire, other than the e-poll book and the Balatar printer. I think are the only ones that they extended beyond this year. And when I mean that's our service contracts for the software, for the other equipment, which is the optical scanners. Those are going to expire at the end of this election year. So at the end of the year, we will rebid and reevaluate what equipment is going to need to be replaced. At that opportunity, that time, we will have the opportunity to go ahead and trade in then our existing equipment plus the poll books and anything else that we have if ESNS is the chosen vendor to apply towards that new contract.
So is it your thought that you think there's a potential to mitigate our losses on the e-poll books better in that situation than in a straight-out payout of the contract right now?
I mean, at this point, I think, yes, you're getting a discount, like Scott said, and I don't disagree with him. Yeah, they're giving you a write-off of $13,000 or what have you. But you're only getting a $10,000 credit for books that are currently being used, not by us, but other counties within the state and around the country. So to say that they're totally obsolete is not correct.
$10,000 trade-in tells me they're pretty obsolete.
Well, they're also looking at it as they feel they've got us because we owe money, and now they're going to take advantage of that opportunity. Now, I'm not saying I probably shouldn't use that word to take advantage of the opportunity, but it is what it is. If we're not buying anything in return, there's no reason for them to give you any more of a credit than a minimal one.
Our leverage is when we negotiate.
Absolutely. I mean, we have no leverage right now, and so I think
it makes a valid point.
If you jump too quickly, I think we're going to...
So what does that to get us to that point?
Only thing I would need if we're going to do that tonight is we just need to clear up this we need to have the auditor be able to pay by the end of the week $58,256.99.
That's it?
That's it.
That's for 15.
Because the 16 invoices...
16 isn't due until March.
What will those invoices be?
Roughly the same.
Roughly
39,000, yeah.
58,000.
And then, you're not buying anymore?
We're not buying anymore.
You're only in negotiation.
And we're gonna go in, and we're gonna trade him in, and that'll be the end. We won't make another payment.
That 58,000...
You're not gonna trade them in unless they get the new contract.
Correct. So they're not the only vendor that can use that equipment.
So what do you need, Scott? You're saying 58,000, but we got transfers in front of us.
Yeah, the transfers, those numbers bounced around, don't look at that. I'm telling you what we would need.
We need to transfer what right now?
We need to, Vicki, do we know what's encumbered?
Over 29,000 and change.
32,145.
Yeah, 32,145.55.
129,916.
129,9 is encumbered, but it's for ENS, but we're not clear on whether it's for
So you don't know for sure, for certain what we owe?
Appeals are just, they're telling us.
All right, how much is in,
How long will it take for you to figure out how much of that encumbered 129,000 is for e-poll books?
When we get the invoice from them.
Well, how did you come up with the 129,000?
You don't have an invoice to encumber the money.
We have 15 invoices, right?
Put in a purchase order.
How long will it take for you to figure out, I mean, you came up with 129,919.55 cents.
We had 32,000 are being encumbered from last year that's being held to pay. And then the 129 is this year's budget, correct?
Yes, from 32,000 is appeal from last year.
Right, that's the encumbered from last year's.
For e-poll books.
Right.
The appeal was really them just saying, hey, we have money that we want to spend out of this appropriation. We don't necessarily see the invoice at all until they then send it forward later.
And you can't tell us what the 129,000...
We can tell you that they're all...
Hold on, and you can't tell us what the 129,000...
That's going to also include ballots, and because like you said, they do provide other services beyond just e-poll books.
Do you know how much of those other services, what that amounts to offhand? You may not.
I don't know offhand.
Okay, go on.
Now, the only point here is that when we do get invoices, it's not necessarily saying this much for e-poll books, this much for these other services. It's a combination of things, so we can't really...
Wouldn't you think you'd want to know that?
Yes. If we approve these transfers...
Wait a minute, well, go on.
We approve these transfers right now into equipment. These two transfers are gonna give you, what, almost $100,000 in equipment?
Yeah, and I'm not asking you to do that.
No, we're not asking for that.
I'm asking you to do $58,256.99 from 1340 polling...
Motion to approve that transfer.
...to 3710 equipment to be spent on the 2015 e-poll book outstanding invoices.
Motion to approve that transfer.
Second. There's a motion to second on the floor. I can't imagine there's further discussion.
Well, I've seen a lot of county government over the years, but I've never...
Well, when I may start doing a Donald Trump, I'm not saying that.
To be honest with you, it is just too bad that we cannot go back to the county officials that made this decision and take it out of their salaries. Because if I could do that, I'd do it.
Motion to reduce all their salaries.
Hold on.
Go on, Scott.
It's ridiculous.
Hold on.
Can we have a list of those elected officials from you, Jim?
All right. Chairman, I would ask you to amend your motion as follows. $32,145.55 from 2252 ballots and coding to 3710 equipment. And $26,111.44 from 1340 polling location boards to 3710 equipment.
Amend my motion to reflect those numbers.
Second, Grace.
Roll call.
transfer.
Councilmember Chapman?
Yes.
Councilmember Papera?
Yes.
You just own them.
Linda?
Yes?
Councilmember Whitten?
No.
Councilmember Biggs?
No.
And Councilmember Graham?
No.
Okay, so it's 3-3.
Well, I really feel like we've made some progress here this evening. Give me another motion.
Is that deadline Friday hard and fast, Scott?
Yes,
And if we don't, what happens? They take us to court?
litigation will occur.
My question is to Mr. Gaines, we're being given, if we pay $140,000, we get a $10,000 credit. How much do you really feel that they're going to give you? They know the equipment is already outdated, it's not user-friendly, it isn't easy, it hasn't, it's had its difficulty. How much do you really think you're going to get on trade-in on this?
I'm not trying to get a big contract, but probably a lot more than 10,000. I think that's what he said.
That's what I'm saying. Because they're still used.
You see what my concern is?
I understand.
What do you want to do?
What do I want to do?
Call the question again. I'll change my vote. What we don't need is a...
Make that motion again, whoever. Jeremy, you want to make the motion again?
No.
Anybody else want to make that motion as Jeremy made it?
I'll make it.
We have a motion on the floor, and a second, roll call.
Don't need to pay for a lawsuit, too.
Right.
Councilmember Papera?
We pay it all.
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas?
Yes, for the second time.
Councilmember Whitten?
No.
Councilmember Biggs?
Why are you?
Yes.
Councilmember Graham?
Kissing your sister.
No.
And Councilmember Jessup?
Yes.
4-2.
What was the alternative? You have a better?
Pay it off in full.
Yep.
And end up with nothing? We're gonna end up with nothing anyway.
Yeah.
No. I guarantee you the road's gonna lead us to, we're not gonna have e-poll, I don't disagree with your vote, by the way, but the road's not gonna lead us to poll books. The road's gonna lead us to a loss, and the question is how much. Either way. So for me, we're gonna end up with nothing either way. It's a question of how much now they can negotiate or mitigate that loss. There. So, I just wanted to cut our losses, but I understand the alternative thinking, and it was a close vote for me.
I get a lot of credit for you to be up
Do you
here.
think the commissioner should be involved in the negotiations
Nope.
next time?
It shouldn't have been you.
I don't. I think that the election board should, they create it, let them go out there and fix it, bring it to the commissioners and us, let us know what's going on. That's what I think.
So if they make another bad deal?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess philosophically speaking, I think we're all on board with the thought that if you enter into things, or expenditures or agreements, that create liability to the county, and you don't tell the county council about it, it's not going to be well received. I assume that we all understand that, right? That we are the first stop.
Yeah. The road
Before you encumber...
The road's only over 100 years old, so I don't know what...
So that's the thought. So that's, because when you don't do that, it creates problems, and then you have the commissioners having to deal with contracts after the fact, and you've got the council being asked to pay for things that we had no involvement in buying and budgeting for, and it's just the wrong way for government to work. It's just wrong. And now we're stuck with how bad is it going to hurt the taxpayers, and it just ticks me off. It's the wrong way to do it. And I got to tell you, I'm with you. If we could cut salaries, I would. Because this was a backdoor way to get around us. They knew that they came to us first. They knew what would happen. I'd be asking questions, why should we buy 82? Well, we want some consolidation of polling places. Well, have you talked to anybody about that? Nah, we're going to force it this way. Or, why are you obligating the county taxpayers to pay for $200,000 of stuff in the same month. I said, no unnecessary expenditures. We're tightening our belts. People are cutting their budgets out there, telling their employees they don't get to have raises and benefits and extras because the county council asked us to tighten our belts. And in that same month, they went out and they obligated this county, not for ballots, guys. Don't get pulled into that argument. This isn't about ballots. This is about a feel-good piece of technology for poll books. And it makes me angry, because it's wrong. It's not the way government's supposed to work. It's backward, and you're right, Mike. We end up with nothing when that happens. We end up with having to carry the weight of that horrible decision. But what else are we going to do? But it's not going to happen again. It's not going to happen again.
Bought a car, pulled it in our driveway, and told us to pay for it.
Okay, on that happy note, let's get the facilities guy up here.
Hello, you're next.
I'm so angry right now, man. It just made me
You're absolutely right about everything you said.
Okay?
I'm full of energy after that.
You know what, to be honest with you, I'm the first one tonight to actually, say, take some money back. So hopefully this ends on a good note. I'm gonna be short. I give all of you the invite. I met, all of you except Councilman Rivas, but the invite is on the table the coming month, to schedule a meeting with me, and we can get into this as extensive as you guys would like to. But for now, it's just gonna be high-level, details, and we move on from there. I basically want to, that's why it helped if I turned it on. I basically just want to give the council an update on where we're at with the facilities. We're not even getting into that. All right, basically, I'm on board now for a month and a half. This is a new position to the county, a director of facilities. The county's never had it. So naturally, regarding the assets, regarding the teams in place, it's been outside consultants for the bigger stuff, the projects, and regarding the day-to-day operations, non-existent. So I've been on board a month and a half. I pretty much have everything I need to know where I need to bring this to you guys, and we go from there. I want to bring up the deficiencies. There's 14 facilities in the portfolio that I'm managing. Every single one of them is the same as the other. They've all been in run to fail. It's an industry term that basically, we're going to build it and we're going to completely walk away. Every single facility in the portfolio is in run to fail. Some examples, the Expo Center. 8 of the 10 rooftop units have cracked heat exchangers. That's carbon monoxide poisoning on one of them. We had 8 of them. I'm still kind of glad that we didn't end up on the news or someone got sick. That did not happen overnight. That's something that has been in the works for a long time. The Juvenile Detention Center has no air conditioning for the upcoming spring and summer. We have 44 heat pumps in the ceiling, 37 of the 44 are broken, there's no cooling tower. We need a new cooling tower. Every BAS system, which is the building automation system, how we control the temperatures, there's 3 of them. 2 are proprietary by Johnson Controls, and 1 is an old Siemens system. All 3 are obsolete and in complete override. The entire system needs to be renovated and overhauled to one open protocol system. The courthouse aesthetically is deteriorating. Outside it might be nice, but anyone who's been inside, and every time I show my face over there, it's every employee there, whether it's a judge, a senior prosecutor, a secretary, basically taking me around and showing me top to bottom, you can't go 10 feet in that building without seeing something that's falling apart. It's bad, and unfortunately, the entire county, that represents the county. The public's in there, the media's in there, that of all facilities should show the best, and it's actually the worst aesthetically in the portfolio. We're 100% vendor-based for all services. There's nothing being done in-house. So if someone's hot, I have to call a vendor. And not me, this isn't something I've just taken over. This has been probably 20, 30 years like this. hot calls, a toilet's leaking, a lock needs to be changed, from small to big, you name it, we're calling vendors. You cannot control the spend when you're in that model of 100% vendors. You cannot control it. You cannot forecast, you can't budget, you can't benchmark. It's anyone's guess. And when the invoices come in that I'm approving every week, which, by the way, this is an important number to throw out, since January 1st to as of 2 days ago, just in heating and cooling alone, I've spent $120,000. I've approved $120,000 just for HVAC. That's no installs. That's not like a new boiler or a new air handler. That's simply calling vendors out to get us through the next day. And when you use vendors, there's no ownership. Vendors, naturally, the more work they get, the happier they are. So the more Band-Aids, the more we're gonna do enough just to get to the next day is good news for them. They get more calls. And there's no preventive maintenance even of the new equipment. And actually, when I say there's no preventive maintenance even of the new equipment, I'm gonna go to the last slide really quick. A picture's worth 1,000 words. That's your brand-new $300,000 rooftop unit here at the Edmund. Brand new. Those are the filters that are in there. Blacker than black, and they're all collapsed. And just this year, we spent $120,000. I'll get into the numbers of what we spent in the past.
I missed that part. Who was contracted to replace those and maintain those?
We'll get into that at the end. I would like to come back to that.
Do you know off the top of your head the answer to my question?
Controls.
Thank you. And how much were we paying them to do that?
Councilman Whitten, I have all the...
How much were we paying them to do that?
The last 2 years, just last year alone, we paid Johnson Controls $280,000.
Thank you.
That was for call-outs and contractual agreements. So the contracts coupled with us calling them out for items outside of the contracts totaled $280,000.
How much was that unit?
That's a massive rooftop unit. I don't have the exact cost, I just know it's real, for me being in the industry.
Estimate?
Oh, $300,000.
So we spent $300,000 and we paid them $280,000 to maintain it, and they didn't do it.
Go on with your presentation, sorry, I threw you off the game.
Yeah, and we can really talk about JCI, but, and everyone's gonna wanna know, and I could talk. I know.
But that's okay, go on.
Here we go, here's the actual spend for 2 years. You're gonna see ranges simply because there's multiple budgets. I've been able to pull all the invoices on my side, but there's other budgets that are involved, the JEC, the jail, and then there's other accounts. I'm only on board a month and a half, I'm not familiar with every single budget and what's coming out of each budget. So the minimums are the numbers that I can prove. The range going forward is money that I know we've spent as it's in other budgets. In HVAC repairs and PMs, that is contractual and call-outs. For 2013 to 15, there's your range. Plumbing and electrical, doors and locks, painting, consulting fees is $500,000. Grounds, which is mulch and cutting down some trees, $315,000. Snow removal, $315,000.
While this is fresh in my mind, so the consulting fees, what's that?
So my role never existed. So when you needed a new roof, when you needed a new rooftop unit, any project, you had to have someone that managed that project. Consultants were brought in to take that over and manage that process. They went out to bid, they put the scope of work together, and that's what all of that is. I am now on board. I've got over 15 years, not only facilities management, but heavy project management. Any and all projects, large or small, regarding the facilities, I'll be taking over in-house completely from start to finish. The only time I will need a consultant is to put together construction drawings or stamp their approval on the engineering piece. So there's going to be a massive cost save with me taking over this work.
Okay.
And that role was probably done, I would, if I guessed, DLZ was doing that role.
DLZ's pretty much doing it all. All right, on we go. I mentioned the entire spend is outside vendors. I am putting together, at least from my department, in the facilities department, new financial data tracking. All new spreadsheets going forward, what was spent in each facility. We will be able to filter and extract all of this data going forward. What did we spend in plumbing alone at the JDC? What did we spend in plumbing portfolio-wide? What vendors do we use? All the data is going to be there going forward that I'm taking on. and I mentioned the ranges. So here you go, the total spend over 2 years, just expense, no projects, nothing capital, this is all expense. 1.6 to 1.8, that comes down to 800 to 900,000 a year. And there is on a pie graph. Seeing the numbers and then seeing the pie graph really puts it into perspective of what's going on. New role, new model. I actually have the best interests of the county and the taxpayers at heart. We're gonna lose all of these contracts. Councilman Witten today and I had a discussion on the phone, and he brought up all the contracts, and I said, I'd be glad to go over it with you. Talk to me first before you go digging in all these contracts, because we've removed a lot of them, I've canceled a lot of them, I'm getting rid of, there's contracts for everything. In fact, there's contracts on top of contracts.
Who called you? You talking about me?
Yeah, when you said about the contracts, I said, well, talk to me before you go reading all these, because all that's changed. We're only gonna have contracts when we need them, fire and life safety, elevator, stuff like that, where you really have to have vendors certifying this stuff. We're gonna minimize the consultants. I'm taking on that $500,000 of work. So we could pretty much go from $500,000, I may do 50 or 100,000 total over 2 years when I really need them to get involved. What I'm gonna do that's never been done, really accurate in the budgets and the forecasting. And I also have benchmarks industry-wide of your facility's 400,000 square feet, this is what you should be paying every month in gas, this is how much you should be paying on HVAC. All those numbers are out there through organizations such as BOMA and BOMI. And then obviously, all new RFP process, minimum 3 for anything over $5,000. So that's something that I'm gonna put into place. And by the way, I'm not connected to any vendors, I'm not connected to anyone in the county, I simply applied for this, I interviewed for it, and I got it. So that's gonna be really nice, I think, for the county. The run-to-fail model is over officially as of January 4th. Now, I'm trying to get on top of it, but we're still in run-to-fail now, but only until we make these changes, which is where we're getting to. I'm not asking for $1 of new money. After tonight's, the money come and go and transfer, and you guys give additional funds, I'm not asking for a new dollar. I'm asking you to simply redirect. I need you to redirect the current spend and fund that's there into different accounts. I don't have the specific accounts. I'm working with auditing and my leadership to come back next month when I'm asked for a vote on it, and then the specific budgets will be in there where it's going to make this happen, but what I need you to focus on is redirecting the funds.
And here's what I need you to focus on.
Yes.
Between now and the next meeting, I will have read through those contracts, by the way. And then you and I can sit down, and you and I can go through the contracts that you've made changes to, and looking forward, and then we'll put it on the agenda and go through the budget that you're looking to have us approve.
Sure.
So in anticipation of that, I do want to have a handle on not just where we're going, but where we've been in the sense of the things that we're changing.
You got it.
And it sounds like you've got some pretty cool ideas here, so well done. I just want to make sure that we all have a handle on where we've been and where we're headed.
Yeah, it's completely different. Everything's being overhauled. Everything is being restructured, reformed. Nothing is staying the same. And the biggest problem is, I mentioned, we're reactive. Everything is to get us through another day. It's all reactive money. We're not getting the $800,000 to $900,000 a year. We're not getting anything for it. It's simply to get us to another day. And I need your support. Here we go. I'm going to be asking the council for 4 technicians, specifically 2 HVAC, 1 plumber, 1 electrician. All 4 of them are capable of general maintenance and PMs as well. So when I say 2 HVAC, those 2 HVAC guys are also going to know plumbing, electrical, how to fix a lock, how to repair a door. I was one of them at one time in my career, and there's a lot of really qualified ones out there, and they have a niche. So they all are capable, but one is very good at electrical, one's very good at plumbing. That's the team I'm going to be building. Full-time with benefits. The pay is going to be $60,000 annually plus the benefits. So just the salary is $240,000. The benefits package, which includes per FICA, medical insurance, everything is in there. $27,000 per employee, which comes to $108,000. I'm asking for 2 service trucks or vans, max of $20,000 each. I will be looking to go used. I'm just saying put a max cap on $20,000. The portfolio is small and very close together. Each of these guys do not need a van. So I'm only reaching out for a tools and equipment budget for the entire staff, grounds and maintenance of $15,000. Now, the particular councilman and I, when we met, said, well, you have 2 guys on staff, we gotta get rid of them. And I said, no, I don't. He said, oh, yes, you do. And he said, oh, no, I don't, because here's what we're gonna do. You saw
Not a great way to approach a councilman.
No, he understood what,
Just a practice pointer there. Go ahead.
It happened, it was very natural, because I just gave him some numbers, and I think he got it. If we look at this pie chart, in grounds and snow, $315,000 each for 2 years. Do you realize we have 2 brand-new F-250s in the parking lot, both of them with plows and salt bins on them, that are only being utilized right now for one facility, and that's here at the parking garage? So we're paying a vendor to plow the entire portfolio when we have 2 plows sitting here. My 2 maintenance guys are maintenance guys, they're excellent, they're great guys, but I'm talking strictly title, none to do with them personally. One was hired to cut grass, and the former did an outstanding job as a custodian and was moved up to maintenance with no additional training. So I need you to focus that even though entitled they're maintenance techs, they don't have that skill set. What they do have, and where they are going to be utilized and provide a real resource to the county and benefit to the county, and both of them have agreed to go into grounds full-time. That we're going to cut the grounds that we're spending $315,000 for, they're going to cut all summer. And in spring and fall, when the grass isn't growing much, they're going to mulch, and they're going to cut trees, and they're going to clean the parking lots and the parking garages. They're going to be busy. They're going to actually be busy nonstop, whether they're cutting grass or not, just on the grounds. And even if we were cut up 100%, I still have other work for them. And in the winter, when they're going to be snow plowing, and I'm going to get them new snow blowers, because they're not going to have the time to do the sidewalks with shovels. And granted, in the winter, I may have to reach out to a vendor. If I have to use a vendor, it's going to be during the snow. But I know with all these parking lots, 2 plows and 2 guys is not enough. So that, in the winter, if we're spending $315 over $150 a year, I may need to spend $50, $60 grand per winter on a vendor. It's still a cost save, but I know that in a heavy snow like this supposed to come, I'm going to need some extra help.
I assume you'll put that in your request for our next meeting, right? I mean, that's...
Their pay is staying the same. Simply the job description changes what will be on there. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay. There we go. The total investment is $400,000. Post-investment savings is $4.5 million annually. I'm asking to take out of that savings a 30% variance. You'll always need vendors. I'm not looking to get rid of vendors. I'm looking to minimize them. We're only calling them when we have to. When all 4 of these techs say, I can't figure it out, call a vendor. So with that, and this includes when I'll need them for snow, and that's kind of industry standard, a 30% variance. $120 to $150 grand that I need to retain and manage, and you better believe I'll be managing that to get the best bang for our buck out of that, and hopefully have a positive variance at the end of each year. But even with that 30% variance, we're saving $280,000 to $350,000 per year minimum. These numbers are all conservative. So I have on here 2017 versus 2015, and then the green is the annual savings. I have 2017 because this is a year of transition. I have to get the team, they have to learn the buildings, so this can officially, your return on investment, your 35-40% annually, you can count on it, put it in the bank for 2017. This year will be a year of transition. And I listed the task list for what I'll need to bring, but we don't need to look at that. Questions?
Well, first of all, the reason before we put this on the agenda for our next meeting, I want to have a handle on what we've been doing on contracts, as compared to what we're going to be doing, is, I hate to say it, but this is a little bit of deja vu. I mean, we've been here before. And although we didn't have the PowerPoint necessarily or the detail that you've got, or this particular detail, we did sit through a meeting where a proposal was made that all of these savings on vendors was going to be the return on our investment. And so if that in fact has not occurred, which that in fact has not occurred, I would like to know how we can be certain that doesn't happen again.
So, one is that this...
And I'm not asking you to speak for anybody, your...
I'm not, I'm just, there's 2 points I want to make. One, I look at the option of remaining status quo.
That's obviously out.
It's not like we have options to not, the assets exist, they need maintenance, they break, so we have to do this no matter what. In terms of what can I tell you to ensure you that we are going to see those savings, is that I've been doing this for 15 years. I've done it in high-rises, I've done it at school districts, I've done it in retail, I've done it in critical environments and data centers. My last portfolio was a commercial portfolio, 50 facilities, and I was turnkey delivery on my end. Everything from the source and the contracts, the vendor, the in-house techs. This portfolio is 14. I'm telling you that, I know the numbers are there, the right model's there, I'm gonna get the right techs involved, I'm gonna absolutely take over the spend that we're doing with DLZ, the project management, all of that's there. I mean, in terms of what guarantee can I give you, if you've heard this before, is simply, you didn't have me. You never had a director of facilities. Forget, I'm not gonna toot my own horn, you've never had a director of facilities. That is why you've never seen that guaranteed in that money.
Right.
Right. Matt, and you're telling us that, there's not gonna be any great increase in money because you're gonna be saving money by...
There's no absolute worst case scenario. We can set this model up and it could be a complete train wreck. You're still, worst case scenario, gonna see $100, $200 grand at the end of the year.
You know what really bothers me is...
Rheumatism?
No. The wizard speaks again. We've come to this, we're being shown what our 14 buildings, the shape they're in, and please, gosh, help us get out of this. This is terrible. It's not good news, but I'm anxious to see what you can do. You have really spoken a very good program here. I'm looking forward to you backing it up.
And there won't be a problem there. It's been very hard this month and a half because, my saying this past month and a half, and started actually day one, was, what the heck is going on? No matter what I look at.
I've heard that somewhere before.
Yeah, so, it's simply, and to get to a point that's come up is that there's been a lot, all I can say to try and encourage, or at least put this to rest, put this fire out for good, is there's been for years, and for my month and a half here, it was very easy for everyone to point a finger. Because there was never a director of facilities, it's very easy, that person, whether they're still employed or not, it's just fingers are running, this person, that board, that council,
hold on.
So my point is that there's accountability.
You never include the board you're in front of.
There's accountability. Well, regardless of what has happened, several people have asked me, how did we get here? And we're here. And what matters is that I've identified it, I've got the skill set to change it, I need your help getting the resources to change it, and when we put a rooftop in, it's gonna last 30 years. When we renovate a room or a building, it's gonna last 20 years. When we put in new carpet, it's gonna last the 10 years it's supposed to. It's no longer install it and walk away. That is what has come to an end.
Well, I think the commissioners have, at least the two that are here, have done a great job in, who's the third? I think it's obvious that Commissioner Good coming in and, at the beginning of last year, and, with Laura's support, one of the difference makers. We have been, Councilman Whitnett touched on, is in 2012, even before Laura was a commissioner, we were told, let me hire this individual, who wasn't even presented to us at that time, and we'll be less reliant on the consultants, and nothing more, and it just simply wasn't true. you actually can make a case that it accelerated from that point forward. And I like what you and the commissioners are presenting, but in your presentation, you touched on, well, you even showed us at least one clip of equipment that we purchased that may not have been, hadn't been taken care of as according to contract stated that it should have been taken care of. I want to know what we're going to do about that.
Yeah.
So, this is...
Before you answer
The
that
answer
question.
is I'll be dealing with it.
There you go.
So, no, I want to make sure I understand Jim's question. When we say, what are we going to do about it, great question, by the way, but to you, is it, how are we going to remediate the problem, get the stuff up to snuff, and make sure that it's, maintained in the future, can be one form of that question, and what are we going to do legally about it is another question. And I think that those are two very distinct questions, and I think he doesn't really want to get into the legalities of it, because for one thing, he's way too smart to be a lawyer. So, is that what you're, I don't want to pinhole you, but is that, are you asking him maintenance-wise or legally-wise? Because the next question was going to be, Scott, what are we going to do?
Well, it's probably, it's probably inappropriate to have asked you that question. It should have been asked to your legal counsel. And I apologize for that, but it is one that has to be answered. Hundreds of thousands of dollars have been spent here, and quite possibly hundreds of thousands of it inappropriately.
So you're looking for an answer, and all I'll say is this, is that I've talked with Scott, we've held meetings on this. The good news is, and Scott can confirm this, that as of May, those contracts in place should be canceled. That's all I'll say. And Scott, everything regarding...
In a nutshell, we're dealing with our contracts.
Yes.
Let us deal with those contracts. We are not going to bring you something back to this council if we have contracts hanging over our heads. We will be dealing with those before we come back. We'll have answers.
I would also like to point out at our last commissioners' meeting, through the attorney's report that Scott gave, we've sort of taken all of our internal procedures on contracts, auto renewals, terms, it's all being flipped upside down, and we're taking a totally different approach to all this. So on the front side going forward, right, we've put the stopgaps in place to make sure that all the bells and whistles are followed. But in the meantime, we have a lot of legacy issues and other things that we obviously need to work through. I'd also like to point out, by going this way, it's also going to require us to do some more Excel spreadsheets and things that we're going to have to do on our own, because the way that the accounting systems work here and the way the funds are from all different areas, it's almost impossible to track the amount of bills and things that we pay for this. So what we're going to be doing is setting up a system before that. The payment system stays the same, but we're going to be setting up spreadsheets, and we're going to be following each building. We're going to be tracking these costs, which, what does that mean? It means a lot, because what we can do now going forward is we can start budgeting much more accurately of what our spend is going to be on these things going forward. But in order to do that, you got to get to the point where you get the right data. So there's a lot to this.
There's a lot of moving parts that get sort of settled in, and I just want to, I know Scott's been great looking at the contracts with you guys, and you guys are making some pretty proactive changes and moves to get things in place and get things fixed and stop the blood from flowing and those sorts of things, which is absolutely necessary. I, however, just out of curiosity, am going to look through those contracts, because I'm just dying to know, because I just want to make sure that, I have an understanding of where things went off the track a little bit, to make sure that we're not there again. I mean, it's not my job. You guys are the commissioners, you guys can deal with that, but I'm just, from a budget standpoint, I just want to make sure that I have a handle on, and that's why I keep saying where we've been, because I want to have a handle on what budgeting looking forward, if we're being realistic, and I suspect that we are, you guys have done a lot of due diligence, but I'm really wanting to know what happened. Just because history has a tendency to repeat itself, not that it will now, but I just want to make sure that I have a handle on what history really is. Now, having said that, we have liaisons to all the different departments. I suggest that we have a couple of us be liaisons to this department. I want to be one of them, so I hereby appoint myself, and Jim will be the second. And I think that as we move forward, before you get on an agenda, you will need to have a meeting with myself or with Jim Biggs and sort of go through a little bit about, just give us a little bit of history, because I think there's going to be a lot to consume. And I'm not saying that because I don't want you to get on our agenda. I'm saying that because I want us to have the opportunity to ask all of our questions, get sort of that ground. You don't want to be talking, spend hours at every meeting. So we can kind of iron some of that out. It sounds to me like you've got a lot of stuff going on in the front end here, and I just want to make sure that we have a handle on that.
And I appreciate that. And I wasn't gonna throw out the number of this year of a month and a half on HVAC alone, but I ended up bringing that into play simply because of what you're saying on before you come to our agenda. It's simply that if we put this up for a vote next month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever we do, and that's fine. I'm just, the need, the bleeding's there, it's not stopping. So that was, if there's any hurry from me, it's...
Well, we can do it the next meeting. I'm not telling you that to sort of delay things. I'm telling you that I really want to know on the front end, I want to know what's going on. Sure. And that way we can kind of call out some of that, stuff that, that made the minutia that doesn't need to be regurgitated at these meetings. I don't know. But we can figure some of that out on the front end.
Yeah, every member here needs to be crystal clear, and I commend Jeff and Laura for allowing you to be so forthright about what you have found. Because it would have been easy not to mention or to hide some of this stuff, because it is so, some of it is really egregious.
Egregious?
Yes, it's outrageous.
And with that being said, since this is in the picture, let me go back to this. Was somebody paid to change this? Were they supposed to be maintaining this?
Jeremy, let me deal with that side of it.
Well, the picture's in there, and
It's more complicated than that. I hate to tell you that. It's not as simple as person A was paid so many dollars to go replace those filters. If it were that simple, I would tell you. It's not that simple.
Well, I'm satisfied. I feel a lot better having, the commissioners having brought somebody like you on with your pedigree. I think, somebody like you has been way overdue. And I understand that to get this back on track is gonna be a little bit more expensive than, you may not even be telling me that, but I've been at this a while, and I think that if this is gonna cost a little bit more than what we're made to think right now, but to get it back on track, so be it. Because I know there's a lot to fix here, not just to maintain, but a lot to fix.
And all, this entire presentation, the vote for the text and everything, that is to maintain the assets. That the day I have that team of 4 is when we go from reactive to proactive. But you're right, that the courthouse needs new floors, new lights, new windows, and new walls. The walls themselves are disintegrating. I need a new BAS system. The JDC needs a whole lot of HVAC upgrade. So yes, there is a lot of money that we need, but the whole point of this is that with this infrastructure in place, when you spend 10 grand or 100 grand on anything, it's now gonna last, and we're gonna maintain it in-house the way it's supposed to be.
So you said that this didn't happen overnight.
This is long, yeah.
My question is, how the hell did we get here? And, well, and I appreciate what you're doing there, but where's the other commissioner at, too? Who's been driving this bus to get us here? We've been allocating money for years, maybe 5 years, and you're up here telling me everything's crumbling, nothing's been maintained. How? I have to answer the taxpayers as a member of the fiscal body who's been allocating money, and you're telling me every building's falling apart, we haven't been maintaining shit in this county, and we're just supposed to be happy-go-lucky moving forward. It's not okay. Where's the commissioner that have to answer these questions to? That's been a president of the Board of Commissioners.
He's in Australia, but the...
If I could answer.
No, you can't. Hold on a minute. So, hold on just a second.
I have to answer.
So, Jeremy asked some very valid questions. I think that, we need to probably have a handle on that, and we need to we need to understand.
There's a thing going on tonight. We just voted on
Right.
equipment from the election board that's costing the taxpayers a lot of money. Now we're looking at other things that's costing the taxpayers a lot of money. Who's not doing their job?
Well, the consistent between the two stories is that this board was not told the truth when, then and in 2012. And let's not, and I don't think Jeremy's doing that. It's not a question of killing the messenger here. I think everybody up here appreciates what the commissioners are trying to do that are sitting in front of us and what you're trying to do. All this board needs to do, to understand about what has been going on here is to know this. There's only one signature line on those contracts, am I correct? And that commissioner isn't sitting in front of us.
Well, hey, ask the question. Answer it. Scott?
The answer has been it has been the process at the commissioners level that contracts are voted on, they're voted on in a meeting, and then only one commissioner signs them.
Okay, so that answers that question. So here's what I would suggest we do. I'm looking at those contracts, not only president of this board, but unfortunately also the law degree. Let me look at those contracts, let me get a handle on what's been going on. I'll work with Scott on trying to figure out, from the county standpoint, what legal action, if any, is necessary or appropriate. Just because things can be done better doesn't mean the way they've been done rises to the level of liability or activity that isn't covered in the law. I don't want to scream and point fingers at people for these guys. I got that out of the way before. And just get a real feel for what's happened. And then I will come back to this board at some point or another, and I will tell you what I think.
I appreciate the effort, but I think I know what happened.
Dan?
Yes, sir.
In an attempt to try to make everyone feel a smidge better about the situation, I want everybody to understand that when we are talking about hundreds of $1,000s of contracts and things being paid, the lion's share of those are not contracts that people are being paid to do things here. They are calling vendors out to fix something that's currently broke. So what I don't want everybody to walk away from this meeting thinking is that we've spent $800,000 on vendors that are not showing up or not doing their job. What I want you to take away from this meeting is that a very small portion of it is contracts that we have with people who are supposed to be doing things. Whether they were being done or not is a different discussion. The 80-90% of these numbers is the air conditioner doesn't work, we call out somebody, at that moment, they show up, and we get the big bill. So, I want everybody to understand that this isn't necessary, this number is really big because we are calling people out to fix things on that type of matter.
I think we've gone far enough down that road, which is why I want to look at those contracts, because quite honestly, I haven't seen them. I don't know what, I know I've heard some of them have auto-renewing clauses. That concerns me a bit.
Incredible.
But we need to just sort of look at where we're at, and again, it may be that, things have just gotten off track on some of those for those reasons. People are being called out, and maybe they're being called out too much, maybe they're being called out for things because we didn't have somebody in-house that could deal with it, and that just by virtue of having that now is going to remediate the problem. So I just want to get a handle on that before we get too far down the blame game road. But I think that certainly it's clear to everybody that something needs to be done better on that end, and it sounds like that's where you guys are headed. Correct?
In order for all this to work, you need to have processes, and you need to have systems.
Right.
And then on top of that, you have to have someone that oversees that and rides it.
That's right.
And it does get down to skill sets. it does get down to the type of people that you hire. That's why we've been coming in front of you with you guys have seen more job descriptions in your life in the last year than we've seen in this county probably forever. And that's gonna continue. And might I add, that's a new department head that we have in this county too for HR that we haven't had for years, which boggled my mind for how many years such a large institution that you have, you don't have a human resources person. So a lot of this, I understand the anger, I understand the angst. I'm working out of that office, we're trying to make it better, but what everybody needs to understand is you have to have a process. You have to have a pecking order.
We get that, Jeff. Well, we do, we see where you're going, no one's disagreeing with what you're doing, everybody here appreciates that.
Well, I just want to make it clear that the only way this can work is if you put it in a system and you have the redundancy over and over.
I think everybody is 100% on board with what you're doing, and you may have, to some degree, gotten a little bit of the, shot the messenger, I guess that goes with our job, but, it seems like you're getting a handle on the looking forward. I'm having some questions about looking back, and I just want to get a handle on that a little bit, and we'll get through it.
Yeah, and I appreciate what you're doing. I mean, and my vote will show you that I appreciate what you're doing, and I support what you're doing. But I've been one that's been up here, kind of knowing where the problem's been, and been vocal about it. But it's frustrating now when stuff's starting to reveal that it's proven what I've been saying has been right for years.
Yeah. Well, and all I'll say to this is, Councilman Rivas, is it would have been very easy for us to sit here and cookie coat this for you all. And we made a very conscious decision not to do this, okay? We've really done a good job in the last 6 months trying to develop a relationship with this board. For whatever reason, I'm not going to talk about the past, because this is about the future. And that's what we're trying to do here. We could have cookie-coated this very easily, and we did not. And we made that decision, all of us made that decision together. So here we are, we got our hat in our hand, but we're going forward, and that's what we're going to do, so,
yeah, I mean, it's great. We're going to come through it. We're just going to work together and get through it. So, okay, thank you for bringing that to us. Appreciate it, Commissioners. Nice seeing you again.
Yeah, appreciate your time.
No problem. So if you would, Matt, we're going to have maybe we'll look at our calendars in the next couple of weeks. We'll get to it.
Whatever, the next month, send me a calendar invite, and I will, if I have some plan, it'll be moved.
Great.
So I will work around all of your schedules, and...
We only have to really worry about a couple of us, so that'll be good.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Unless the rest of you want to do that too. I just don't think you can. I'll move my schedule. Okay. All right, what's left? All right.
Loans for stormwater.
No, where's my calendar? Second, allow me, before we get to second reading, let me just make sure we've covered everything, since it's the wrong night. So, a couple things. One is, I was contacted by well, before we do that, I think do the second reading, so get that out of the way, because I think that's next on the agenda.
Whereas it has been determined that it's not necessary to appropriate more money than will be appropriated in the annual budget, therefore be it ordained by the Porter County Council, Porter County unanimously accept the dispatch unit. The following additional sums of money are hereby appropriated out of the fund pending for the purposes of Page 30, Fund 2500, $2,506, $50,000, hospital interest $49,317.
Sorry, I got real wounds.
Oh, dude, I hear you, brother. I hear you.
You've
been playing for 3 years.
A total of $3,354,135.
You're out of your mind.
Find more
opportunities.
9817.
I agree.
Common and Prairie, $81.53, $7,942.24. Park County, $11.79, a total of $130,000. Security Grant, $81.43, a total of $140,000. Title 40 incentive, $88.95, $40,000. General fund, $15,537.18. Overweight vehicles, $4,114. Local grant, OWI testing, $91.14. $11,416.29. Staff grant, $81.13, $2,178. Prosecutor deferral, $2,525.01, $3,000. Prosecutor pretrial, $2,525.03, a total of $2,440. And VOCA grant, $81.12, $28,000. Presented to the county council of Porter County, Indiana, and budget of schools for time for the 24 days.
What's your pleasure, second motion? There are motions, is there a second? Second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Rivas?
Yes.
Councilmember Whitten?
Yes.
Councilmember Biggs?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes, sorry.
Yes.
And Councilmember Paplas?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Before we get to the attorney's report, a couple of things. We've already dealt with the Stormwater Advisory Board appointment, that was Jeremy. The stormwater loan, do we need to deal with that tonight, or can we deal with that on our next
We
meeting?
would, because that would allow that department to be able to start this, forecasting what, they know what's coming.
Right. So what do you motion?
Already need a motion.
Second.
And the commissioners have worked.
$500,000?
Correct.
We have a motion and a second for the $500,000 stormwater loan. Any discussion?
What? This loan is...
It's a loan.
Particulars on it?
Yes. The loan is simply this. We want to get the stormwater forward running. We want them to start doing work immediately. This idea is to give them a $500,000 loan from the hospital interest money.
That's what the...
And then the loan money would then be paid back at the first tax issue. As when we get our first fee, we would turn around and pay it back in June. At our next meeting, we would do the additionals into the budget.
Jeff, did you have something?
Is that the loan?
Yes.
You just described it, I think, okay.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? The idea was to hit the ground running, so this will do it. Roll call.
Councilmember Whitten?
Yes.
Councilmember Biggs?
Yes.
Councilmember Graham?
Yes.
Councilmember Justin?
Yes.
Councilmember Paparad?
Yes.
And Councilmember Rivas?
Yes.
All right, so that takes care of that. A couple of housekeeping things. I was contacted by our Alcohol Beverage Commission appointment, Greg Sims. Unfortunately, he is unable to make the meetings because he didn't realize it was during the day, and he teaches school, so he has graciously resigned from that board to me and has asked that we appoint somebody else in his stead. So it is something that we need to deal with. We can deal with it now, or we can deal with it at our next meeting.
Well, I have,
there was somebody else that had applied, and who was it, Sylvia? I talked to one person.
Andy Verhaeg.
Andy Verhaeg was another person that applied, and we could just
Marcus Regola?
move for him.
Does it matter?
No, I
The
mean...
state's just gonna do whatever they want, if we vote yes or no, right?
Right.
You're probably
As of
right.
tomorrow.
That's probably true.
Do we just open up again and then we'll adjust it on next meeting?
Just leave it open.
Anybody that applies?
Just appoint a state legislator to it.
I mean, it's up to you guys. I don't care. It's probably a moot point. Andy Verhaeg seemed like a pretty good guy. I talked to him originally. It was my second choice, but you guys may not have had that.
I'd like to review.
Okay. Let's send out applications again in anticipation of our next meeting. The other thing was I have, as you know, received applications for our attorney position. There's quite a few of them, actually. I don't know if you guys had the opportunity to see them. They're here at the office. My thought was, and I wasn't rushing to judgment on this because I wanted to get an opportunity to get as many as we could. And quite honestly, I've had Scott halfway on projects, ES&S being not the least of them. So I thought that perhaps our next move might be at some point in the future here, we set up interviews. There's a couple of them that might withdraw their application. That was another one. After discussing with them the compensation model that caused some consternation and maybe some conflicts. To be honest with you, felt that one of the criteria that we ought to be contemplating, and this is just a philosophical contemplation, but with the advent of the change in how we handle legal services in this county, meaning Scott now is the county council attorney, we undoubtedly are going to be anticipating a legal department coming to us, Scott being that. I didn't want our council attorney to be part of that, because quite frankly, I don't want our attorney to be beholden to the commissioner's attorney, if in fact they ever have a disagreement, or if there's a legal opinion that might be required of our attorney. I didn't want our attorney to be afraid to give us an opinion that is perhaps adverse to the opinion that the commissioner's attorney might have. If we weren't afraid of that, then why would we need an attorney? So I think that that has to be a criteria of ours. I don't want our attorney to be representing half the boards that come in front of us. That has been a difficulty in the past, not with our current attorney, but in the past there's been some of that. So that kind of cooled the herd a little bit, all right? So what I would suggest is I anticipate that a couple of those that have applied would probably be withdrawing that here within the next week or two, and then we interview.
I don't want to rush down this road too fast until the foundation is established and Scott's the conduit, and this thing's running pretty smooth. I mean, there's no, I don't see a pressing need to kick him off the end of the table, is there?
No.
Well, I mean, no, there's no, we don't have to make a rush to judgment. However, we really don't want our attorney in the long haul here to be.
No, I'm just concerned about the foundation get going, and all that gets a little bit...
We're not that...
Well, it's gonna be right there, Bob. I mean, he's not going anywhere.
I know, okay.
So let me figure this out a little bit. Give me a little time. I've talked to several of those lawyers. I just wanted to let them know. I'm not done talking to all of them, because I haven't been able to get a hold of a couple of them. But I wanted them to know what the compensation has been for our attorney, because I think that maybe a few of them were thinking Lake County terms. And it came as quite a surprise.
Lake County.
Yeah, it came as quite a surprise when we were in that ballpark. So let me keep working on that, and maybe I'll send an email out to everybody saying, listen, I would suggest that we set some, interview schedules and just move that way. If we don't like any of them, we bid it out again.
Sounds good.
So that's kind of where it's at. It's kind of an update you guys.
You're one of those newly graduated law students at VU. There's somebody hungry, Eye of the tiger.
Exactly.
No, I want to go back and record documents and see which attorney continuously beats Scott.
All right, guys, that's all I have. Scott, did you have something more?
Just real quickly, I know it's been long, to go back to a little bit what we've done, at the commissioner's level, one thing we did, and Jeff and Laura alluded to it, was we put in the process at the last meeting some new contractual obligations before department heads turn them into the commissioner's office. And one of them that I think is probably the most enlightening for this board is that if in fact there is a contract that is not part of a normal routine contract that's in one of these department heads or elected officials' normal budget, okay, that they have to identify to me where they're paying for this, okay, and for the life of the contract. If that's not identifiable at this point, they've got to come at this point to your council president before they're going to get that contract approved, and at that point, they're probably going to be sitting here getting that worked out, at least in theory.
Right.
So there's an understanding before those contracts are entered into, which is one of those things where I think this board has had some frustration with, is that there's been that disconnect where we have contracts being entered into.
Shocking, yeah.
So that's never happened, and so...
It's hard to believe.
Those things, and that was passed at last commissioner's meeting, and that's already gone out to department heads and elected officials.
Excellent.
So those things are gonna be done, so you guys are gonna have that issue when it rears its head.
All right, anything else? Good evening, we're adjourned.